We're live.
What up, what up?
Mr. Rich Zasada.
That's right.
The man, the myth, and the legend.
Wow. Well, maybe by something.
Mr. Zasada. I can't tell you how excited I am to have you on the podcast. Not because you're insanely infamous, but because you're one of my best friends.
Yeah, dude.
One of my very closest friends. Somebody that I've always considered to be one of my most trusted advisors, almost a mentor, really. I mean, you kind of taught me a lot about the music industry, and, you know, you never lied to me. Granted, you did help me teach me a little bit how to play a little bit of politics, admittedly through your mistakes, not through your successes.
Yep.
But
gotta make a lot of mistakes.
Real quick, let me just explain to people who don't know who you are, or they do, but they don't recognize where they know you from, or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. So, Rich, you were most recently the drummer for Wither the Tide with Jeremy Montoya.
Yep.
Very, very good band. Jeremy, I've mentioned on the podcast before for the listeners. He's currently singing in my project. Rich is also currently going to play bass for my project.
That's what I've been told.
Very excited about that.
I'm excited for that too.
But right before that, you and Jeremy were in a band with Jason Reed and Chad.
Yep.
I think it's Hasladen is how you pronounce it.
Yep.
Hasladen.
Hazeldon. Yep. Chad Hinge, as most people.
Yeah. So Chad Hinge and Jason Hinge. That was a band called Buried by Hope, which was just a secondary manifestation of a band called Bane Hinge, and that is funny because not only were Jason and Chad in that band, but that's the band that Al Bourne was in, and Al has agreed to jam drums on this project. So kind of a full circle, 2 drummers from the same band, 3 people out of some iteration end up in my project Small World. But way before that, you were the original drummer for a little band called Skywind with also a previous guest, Wally. We're just going to call him Joseph because his last name's fucking impossible.
That's right. Yep. Yep.
Is there anything I missed in there?
Well, there's all kinds of things in between a lot of those things, but those are predominantly the things that I'm attached to in many different ways, and emotionally, spiritually, physically. My heart and soul has gone into that for many years, and obviously, especially Skywind, and we're still doing it. And man, we've been doing it a long time, and since 1997, for the most part. And and it was I watched your podcast with Wally, and I thought it was interesting to hear his point of view on some things, and like I said, maybe there's a couple of things that he remembers maybe slightly different.
One thing we talked
slightly different
about
than I do, but at the end of the day, we had a lot of good times, and some of that stuff gets buried, in how you remember it as well.
Sure, and a lot of it doesn't even fucking matter either. So it's like,
it doesn't matter.
We embellish, we fucking tell stories that make us look a little better or look a little worse, but they don't really actually matter to the real history. But I do want to get into that because I think that's interesting, and a lot of people, non-musicians, ask me these questions. So first, let's start at the beginning real quick, because I'm curious about this. You and I have known each other for going on 15 years, it seems like. Probably a little less than that, actually. It's probably closer to 10.
Yeah, not by much.
I'm thinking 10. I'm thinking it's closer to 10 because I had to be 24, 25. No. It has been longer than that. It has, because I was in Solace and Ashes.
That's right.
We met. You were in a band called Zero, and
right. Yep.
Bill Berry booked us on a show to open for you guys. It was your comeback show. You hadn't been around in forever, and that's when we met. And do you remember? It was so fucking hilarious because I walked right into the green room as the true opening band. I don't even know if we had played yet.
This was on the east side, right? This is when. Was it that one?
We were at the Rock.
Oh, at the Rock. We played one other show with you guys at one place on the east side one time.
The Cherry Pit?
No, I can't remember the name of it. It was like upstairs or something. It was weird.
I think I know what you're talking about. It was a big white building.
I just don't remember.
And the ceiling was really low, and the fucking can lights were like right in my face. But anyways, regardless.
yeah, right.
So I'm the opening band, and I have the fucking just the balls and the tenacity. I just walk right into your green room, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, I heard, I know Bill. I heard you were the original drummer for Skywind," and you're like, "Yeah," and like kind of taken back, like, "Who the fuck's this kid?" You know, and I'm like, "Hey, my name's Jared. I'm in this band, blah, 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 blah. It's really nice to meet you." And then we talked for a few seconds, and I was like, "Yeah, cool. So can I get your number?" And you were like, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man. Don't worry about it." And you're like, No. I'll give you my number, dude. I'll give you my number." And then you literally, as I was typing it in, you were like, "You know why I'm giving you my number?" And I was like, "Why?" Like, and you're like, "Because you remind me of me." You're just like,
Okay.
I don't know what it is about you, but you're just so full of fucking vigor that cool.
Well,
Take
now
my
after
number.
knowing you for 15 minutes, 15 years, you don't really
15
remind
minutes.
me. Yeah, 15 years, you don't really remind me of me so much anymore. You just remind me of you. You're a firecracker, dude. I don't know anybody like you, and that's why I've always, we've
I
had other
appreciate
experiences
that,
as well. Remember when we tried to have you manage us for a period of time?
Yep. That didn't go well.
Because it didn't go well, but nonetheless, I really believed in you, and I really thought
that
you were the man,
also-
because you are the man for those types of things. I really
I'll
think that
defend
you have a
myself on
niche.
that one. That one wasn't my fault.
No,
Because here's the thing is, you guys didn't really want a manager. You wanted an assistant. You wanted somebody to do your basic, like, menial, tedious jobs that you didn't want done, like managing your Facebook page and like all that kind of shit, where it was like, I was trying to explain, and I know you and I had this conversation, so I know you didn't let them speak for you, but I also could tell that you weren't the driving factor behind this complaint. And the driving factor was that I wasn't at rehearsals enough. I wasn't involved daily enough. And it was like, no, bitches, listen, I need to be out there building relationships and making connections because I'm a new manager. Yeah, I've been in the scene for a long time. But at that point, when I picked you guys up, or you approach, I don't even remember how it ended up happening, but I remember telling you guys it's going to be 3 to 6 months before it looks like I've done a goddamn thing, because I got to rebuild relationships. I have to go meet new people and like forge these things. So really the first 3 to 6 months, you're just going to be riding the wave you've been on, and you're not going to see anything from me. Be patient. Within 3 months, everyone forgot about that, and they were like, "You're not doing enough. I don't see enough happening," and blah, 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 blah. And it was like, fuck all this.
It was just the wrong set of circumstances. It just...
You got to know what type of management you want.
We didn't need a manager. We weren't at a level of a band that even needed or deserved to have one.
No, you needed a dedicated booking guy, which is what I started doing immediately, was booking, taking at least that off your plate. And then you needed an assistant that could help you manage your social medias and all that kind of shit, your day-to-day bullshit tasks that just bog a band down. And then maybe roadies to help you like get the physical burden off of your bodies when you're playing shows and doing tours and shit like that. But you didn't need a full-blown manager, or at least you didn't want one.
It's hard to find those people, as we all know. And
dude,
which is kind of crazy, because
it's a team.
I actually I love doing that stuff. I've always loved that. I love doing it for my friends. I've had all kinds of friends over the years that I've offered to do that for, and I feel like I'm the perfect guy for that, because I know what I would want when I'm sitting back there, and even for you, I mean, it's just amazing, when we did Dick Fest, which was dubbed by me because somebody, I think Wally or Joe, set it up to have this show where we played in 3 bands that I was doing at that time, which,
yep.
Which
and you
I guess
played drums in all 3 bands.
So I played in drums in all 3 bands that night, and it was dubbed Dick Fest because I'm Dick, I guess,
So hold on. Let me pause you there. I gotta explain to people why we call you Dick. Obviously his name's
no,
Rich.
You're gonna get off on some tangent.
Dick is a nickname for Rich. That part's obvious. But the reason we called it Dick Fest and the reason his name got dubbed, his nickname in the music industry, was we named him Dick Lasagna. And the reason for that is somebody was drunk one night and said his name, and they said Rich Zasada. But Rain, my guitar player at the time, was so drunk, he's like, "Did you just say Dick Lasagna?" We started laughing so fucking hard. It literally became, we would not call you, the entire band of Dying Euphoria would not call you anything other than Dick Lasagna in full. It wasn't even Dick.
And I'm pretty sure like Jeremy Blake or somebody like actually made me a dick-shaped lasagna for
Probably
my birthday or something. I can't quite remember
that
it correctly.
Sounds exactly like Jeremy Blake.
Which was impressive.
So speeding back up to where you were at, so this had become such a part of our local music industry here that you started calling yourself Dick Lasagna so much that when you played in that show, we wanted it to officially be called Dick Fest.
Yeah, they wouldn't officially call it that, but it was.
But we
unofficially
all called it
Dick Fest.
Dick
But
Fest.
yeah, you also started in the Skywine set in the third set. I was starting to cramp up in my legs and stuff, and and I suppose when I was,
I remember
I was in my early 40s or whatever. So what was that, just a year or so ago or whatever it was, year and a half ago, 2 years, whatever.
A couple of years ago, yeah.
So yeah, and you literally came back there when I was cramping up and grabbed the inside of my thigh while I was drumming and started massaging my thigh, which in a
non-sexual way.
It looked so like homo, but but it was what was needed,
right?
And that, and nobody else was going to do it, and that was actually helped me survive through most of the rest of the show. Obviously,
yeah, I could tell what you're physically going through. I've been there,
dying by then, because even when we went on for the Sweet Addiction set, you know me, dude. I go on stage and there's no like I like warm up into it or like whatever. I'm just like I sit down.
It's go time.
Everybody knows me. 45 seconds into the first song and I'm just dripping.
Yep.
And I understand that I'm sure plenty of drummers out there and dudes that I'm friends with and dudes that I'm not friends with and whatever. I might not be, the technically the best drummer around town, but and I'd probably get Mickey Moused by a lot of dudes, but everybody knows, dude.
Do you
get on stage with me and you better bring it, dude, because otherwise you better bring it. You better bring it to my caliber of intensity, of emotion, because music is emotion, and there's a technicality, and dude, I grew up in the 90s. Trust me, that when we all fell in love with technical music and that drove like our discussions at school and everything, it was about shredding and everything. I mean, trust me, I know, but like even that was at that time driven with emotion and whatnot, and bands like
you're talking like late 80s, early 90s,
yeah,
when metal was still metal,
thrash metal, bands like Testament, and and I could go on and on and on, and just how melodic and emotional these bands were and heavy,
right.
And like so that's kind of me.
I've always just a little bit.
I've always been an emotional player, and I'm an emotional person on the inside and the outside, and that's made me a lot of very, very close friends and maybe a few enemies over the year. And actually, a lot of enemies become even my closer friends because of you have to kind of go through that battle sometimes. And obviously, I mean, you and Wally talked about it. You didn't talk much about it, but it's a well known that Wally and I have had our moments over the years, and that is such a for him and I. It's almost a necessary thing, and.
Well, and him and I did touch on that, because here's the thing: is like, I think that passion that you have, that intensity that you just referenced, I think that's what makes you a passionate player. And I think something I learned from you and Bill is that that's the role that you play. That's what you bring to a band. And instead of looking at as a negative, you got to understand how that is not only a positive but necessary. And that's where I touched on it with Wally, as I said, cool, you and him fought like cats and dogs, but you also made great music. You can't have fire without a little friction, right? Period. End of story. That's just how it works. That's a great metaphor, because not only is it true, it's a law in physics, like you can't create fire without friction.
Absolutely.
Period. End of story. Right. But you also will never find hit music fire without friction, meaning bands that fight like cats and dogs.
Yeah, I don't think you will.
So I picked that up as something I wanted to add into my drumming and my performing, and I pulled that from you. And then do you remember a local band called Quiet Drive?
Yep. I don't. Yep.
That fucking drummer, I remember their music was just like, it wasn't heavy by any means.
Well, you still hear their Cyndi Lauper tune like every once in a while on Jack.
I'm just saying, they weren't a metal band by any means.
No,
they weren't even heavy. But that drummer, when he got off stage, I remember one time I watched him get done with his set, and he threw his sticks down with such passion and almost anger and rage. They bounced off his snare drum and went out into the crowd. and then he just walked off stage like, "Blah." And it was either fuck this shit, like he was too good for it, or it was like beast mode, just scored touchdown attitude. It didn't matter what his intent was. I saw that and I was like, that dude's fucking awesome. Like, and I remember way before I played drums in the scene, in the industry, being in bands as a singer, I remember saying, if I ever play drums, I want to play drums like that guy. And then a few years later, I saw you, and it was the same thing. It was like, that dude's not fucking around. Like, so when I fucking bought that drum set from you, and
it was a trade,
and started the fucking the Tyrants, dude, there was, plus the pressure of playing on that kit, knowing not only had you played on that kit, but the stages that kit has shared.
Yeah, that was my Skywind kit.
Yeah,
but it only
I
went
keep pointing
to
at it because it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing the bands that you shared the stage with, because like Sting and I have a similar thing, and tell me if you feel this way. Sting and I have a philosophy, a musical, spiritual philosophy, that the equipment absorbs the vibes of the energy of anyone in the room or any of the places it's been. Right? So that fucking kit has shared the stage with a lot of big bands. It's had a lot of your songs written on it. It's shared the same room and sweat and humidity as the Skywind boys and the fucking the West Coast salt air from the ocean. All of that kind of shit.
That's probably what would mean the most to me is, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't matter to me as much as who maybe some big acts that shared the stage with, but yeah, I would have to say that O2 was for the most part written on that kit, and that kit supported that, so that's emotional to me, and that's why we actually traded. I traded you that rack box that I started using for my recording rig.
That's right.
And I still have that,
Yep.
And
I got the better end of that deal.
Maybe whatever.
No,
I
definitely got the better end of it. You hooked me up because it should have been an even trade, and then I should have given you like $200-300, but somehow
whatever, man.
We flipped it, and you gave me a hundo.
Well, maybe you needed it or whatever. And what comes around goes around. But I'm glad that went to you. I wouldn't want that just to go to a random anybody. It's similar to, okay, I was working with this dude, and he had a bow, right, that he used for bow hunting, and he asked me one day if I was interested in buying it, and right away I jumped at the chance and I bought it.
Right.
It was a good deal, but he only wanted to sell it to somebody. He hunted with it for years, and he only wanted to sell that to kind of somebody who knew was going to appreciate it, enjoy it. So yeah, then I got that bow, and then I haven't talked to you a whole lot over.
Are you bow hunting now? Do you get into bow hunting?
So yeah, that's kind of probably an entryway into a whole other topic of discussion, because yeah, I did. And so basically, when the apocalypse hit,
that's what we're calling it, by the way, guys.
That's what I call it.
We're currently in the apocalypse. That's what Kate and I call it. We call it the apocalypse.
We've been in it for a long time.
Because it's the apocalypse, but kind of funny because there's memes.
It's the apocalypse is what it is. But it's,
the apocalypse because it's the apocalypse, but there's memes. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, right. People use humor as deflection. But, anyways, like many other people, I got sent home from my job, and our whole shop did, and I got furloughed, and basically it all came into play that it was spring, and I became interested in spring turkey hunting. And
so you're turkey hunting with a bow?
Yeah, it consumed me for about the 6 weeks that I could legally hunt for, with the bow. It consumed my life, and I had the greatest season it was amazing. Now you're gonna ask the question, so how many turkeys I get? I'll tell you right now how many I got. I got 0. I got 0 turkeys, and I spent probably 3 or 4 days a week out on some public land out in Rosemount, and it was just such an amazing thing to be out there with nature, and that's when you really start to discover, that there's a creator, and that's what life is about, and that we're living in the creator's creation, and that becomes more apparent when you're out there, And I seen birds every day, and they might have been 300 yards off, and you try to call them. But like we were talking about with music too, the bow hunting thing, especially it being my first season ever hunting at all.
Did you even shoot the bow at
no,
a turkey?
I never shot the bow, not once out there. And you know, the thing about turkey hunting that you start to understand, you know,
hold on. Is turkey hunting only in the spring?
No, there's a fall season, but this is the difference. And there's a difference between spring and fall. And the difference is in the spring, they're mating.
Okay.
And in the fall, they're not.
So why do you hunt them in the spring at all?
Okay, so in the spring...
Is it population control? Is it...
Probably.
Is it so you don't overhunt in the fall?
I guess I'm not sure of all the reasons the DNR probably have for that. But what I do know is there's differences. I mean, I'm not a pro at this at all. I've done it for one season. But I did it for a lot over the season, and I learned a lot. And it was from making mistake after mistake, just like we were talking with the music.
Yep, I was
make
just
mistake
gonna say,
after mistake after mistake. Like I'd literally like come walking into a field like too hot, just way too fast. Oh, and there's Tom right there. And as soon as they see you, these are like country turkeys. They ain't no city turkeys.
Fly.
As soon as they see you, they're gone.
And they can fly quickly and fast and high.
Gone.
They can fly 150 feet in the air. By jumping off their hind legs, like
oh yeah, dude,
they can't fly for long distances, but they'll get their ass up in a tree. Let me ask you this, man.
I can't tell you how many encounters that I got into when I was out there, where I was literally I almost stepped on them because they were staying hunkered down. I just got to explain this really quick because it's so interesting to me. You know, I'm into like just psychology in general.
Hold on,
you know,
let me pause you for a second.
Okay. So
what? So when you decided to get into hunting,
yep,
was it because you bought this bow, or were you already thinking about getting into it before the bow came into your hands?
Well, I got into hunting because for the same reason I think every man and probably person should get into hunting, and that's because of the times we're living in and the times that we will be approaching. And
isn't that funny how for so long
it's not just for that reason, but I have an interest in it. I actually have never hunted deer or anything, and for some reason I don't know what it is in my own like psyche or whatnot, but shooting a turkey doesn't seem that bad to me. And for a start, and I'm telling you, I would use every piece of that animal. I would honor that animal.
When you get your first one, you're saying?
If I ever get my first one, and and it's just so crazy, man. It's psychology, just like human psychology. There's a turkey psychology, and the reason why it's crazy is because in turkey psychology, the male has like a harem of chicks. Of hens that follow him around because he's the male turkey. He's like slamming ass,
like so he's kind of like he's kind of like a silverback gorilla in that regard.
Yeah, he's like bad, right? And he's got like a harem, and they follow him around. And what happens is maybe in the afternoon or sometime in that period of day, the hens might actually go off to lay an egg or something. And what happens is he might kind of be interested or whatnot to where that hen may have gone, and he might be starting to look for her a little bit, because usually in nature the hens always go to the tom. They go to the tom.
Is that what they call a male turkey?
It's a tom. Yep, male turkey's a tom, and a female's a hen, and a young male turkey's a jake. Okay. Yep. And but what's interesting? Hold on. What's interesting about this psychology?
Why is she just a hen? Everyone else gets human names.
Oh, and she's a. Yeah, she's a sassy Susie, and all kinds of names.
At least call her a Sheila.
Well, she's
give her something.
Well, and the thing is in nature, so the hen goes to the tom. But what you're actually trying to do, you're sitting out there making these calls with like either a mouth call or a box call or like a friction call and whatnot, and you're trying to make hen noises, trying to convince this tom that you're all
a dirty
that.
Slut.
That's right. That you're all that. And,
right.
And because the most part, he's like, I don't care if you're all that. I got 15 other babes around me.
So
and
like,
you're trying to be like,
dude,
no, you need to come check me out. So then when he finally comes to check you out, you're like, surprise! It's not who you think it was.
Dude,
and,
so think about this.
But I never got myself to that point because I obviously haven't proven myself worthy of that yet, because I had to get through my first season. And maybe other people have shot turkeys in their first season, but I have not. But you sit there, you hold still for 3 hours, you don't talk, you don't breathe, you just sit there and contemplate and take in nature and God, and you might pray a little bit, whatever you're going to do, you're going to sit out there. And then the animals, when you're quiet, the animals start coming around you.
How funny is it? How funny is
crazy,
it?
Man.
How funny is it that no matter how old you are, no matter when you were born, when people go out and spend large amounts of time way out in nature, they come back and they're like, dude, I'm not saying everybody is suddenly convinced that there's a God, but everybody comes back suddenly and goes, there's definitely a little bit more going on than what I originally thought.
You got to figure it out at some time.
But how funny is that? Like, it doesn't matter. Same thing. Like it doesn't matter why people end up going hunting or when it happens. But at some point in time, most people realize, and is where I was really going with this, is like all those preppers for all those years, all those guys that were like, well, when shit hits the fan and you can't go to the grocery store for meat, I'm still going to know how to eat. And everyone laughed at those guys unless you were like already into that shit, right? And I'm talking about where we live, which is the city, the music industry. A lot of liberal people, a lot of left-wing people.
I did not grow up this way. I did not grow up hunting or learning how to hunt. I just brought it on myself, and I did.
I grew up around that. So when I moved to the city as a kid and people are like, oh, hunting is inhumane. At 11 years old, I'm like, do you have any fucking idea what you're talking about? Like, so what do you think happens to a deer if a human doesn't shoot it? And they're like, it lives its life. And it's like, no, it gets literally hunted down by a mountain lion or a bear or a wolf, and it's slaughtered, and it dies a terrifying death. When humans shoot an animal, we shoot it through the heart quickly, and if you do it right, it doesn't even know it got hit. It feels a slight pinch, and then within 2 steps, it's 100% dead.
You honor that animal. You sprinkle some tobacco on the site if that's what you believe in,
right?
You know what? And you honor it, and so everybody wants their meat in a nice cellophane package at the store.
I agree.
Made with pink slime.
Shit.
And if you don't know about that, then look it up.
And here's why I'm asking you about this, and here's why I'm bringing this up and kind of like throwing shit at you, because one thing I do agree with. It just in perpetuity with what the left says and a lot of the liberal people say, and I rarely hear from the right wingers, and it pisses me off, is that
they're going to be hungry someday
the
too.
least inhumane way that we can do anything to get our meat is the factory farms and the giant fucking factory slaughterhouses where they're electrocuting them and doing that is fucked up. So I've been on this shit for years, not just from a survival prepper standpoint, but from an ethical standpoint. Like, I need to start hunting and getting my own meat, because at the end of the day, bottom line is, like, this is not cool for me to be feeding this system. You know what I mean? So for whatever reason it is, like, there's a lot of valid reasons to go hunting, and I just find it really interesting that it took the apocalypse for a lot of people on the left to suddenly want a gun. Like, I can't tell you how many, we were showing each other our guns before the podcast. We actually have the same gun. We actually have the exact same gun, ironically. But here's what I found hilarious, and this is kind of just pointing out, not. Some people will take this soundbite and they'll use it as an opportunity to be like, you're bashing the left and you're calling out them for
I haven't
hypocrisy.
said a word, by the way.
But I'm not calling the left out for hypocrisy. I'm saying whether it's you're on the right or you're on the left, I think it's interesting how the apocalypse will quickly show you the flaws in your own party's or ideology's logic. For example, I can't tell you how many people I know that are on the left that tried to suddenly go buy a gun. And they're like, what do you mean I can't walk out of here with a gun? I thought this was like easy. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew I was going to have to go through all the checks. And I grew up around guns, but I hadn't bought a weapon in the state of Minnesota in the last 10 years. So all these new laws and shit that I've got, even 15 years really, since all this shit has gone into place, I had no fucking idea what I was walking into. And it was insanely difficult. You know, I had people calling me up like, dude, how do I get a gun? Where do I get a gun? And I'm like, I thought you were anti-gun. And they're like, I was, but motherfuckers are fucking, it's going crazy out here. It's like, now you understand why because think about it, dude. They go, oh, well, and you were kind of giving me shit about it earlier. Like, oh, well, you know, all your guns are fine and good until they roll up with tanks, and then you're dead.
They roll
anyways.
up with miniguns that fire 700 rounds a minute. Then we got problems. And that's,
well, right.
Isn't that the reason why we have guns?
Well, yes, but
it ain't for like gangsters kicking in your door in the middle of the night.
But that's exactly what I'm saying it is. It's
or
also
for hunting.
for that.
They're not made for hunting either.
In a neighborhood where I'm at, where unless shots have already been fired, I have a 30 to a 40-minute wait time for most police responses, if at all, if they ever come.
It's a long time.
That's why I deserve a gun. And that's why I need an AR-15 with 30 rounds in the clip. Because when riots are going on and somebody fucking next door almost got robbed and we called the police and we're like, yeah, somebody just literally tried. We watched them case the house earlier and then they came back in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
they
but
tried
you can't
to break
shoot people for
you know
robbing
their
house.
But you know what they said? Can you call us back next Monday?
Well,
we're a little busy right now.
I'm pretty sure if somebody kicks in my door and they're just there to steal my TV, I'm just supposed to let them steal my TV, right?
I mean, you're supposed to. Legally,
right? I mean,
morally, I don't think so. You know, I believe in castle defense. If a man, let's say you own a landscaping company. Let's say you own a landscaping company, right? So you got your truck and your trailer and everything in that trailer out front. And during the riots, some dude runs up and he's trying to steal your truck and trailer. That's your livelihood. If he steals that, you're again a small business. Right, you don't have $20,000 of fucking.
Well, it's kind of on him, right? I mean, I don't want to shoot the guy.
I'm not saying you have the right to kill the man.
It's kind of on that dude. If he's a thief, then he's a thief. He's going to have to deal with his own judgment on that. You know, I don't.
I mean, spiritually speaking, that's all well and good.
It's
but
a different deal. If you come into my bedroom and you try to rape me,
or your wife, you know, and that's the thing is like,
probably wish you hadn't. I guess
it all changes. It all changed for me when I got married. Because when I was a single dude, you know, 26, 27, I'm in my athletic prime. I'm thinking, well, I can just fucking do whatever I want. Like, I can literally bail. I'm faster than anyone. I'm crazy agile. I can hop. And I had done it. I'd gotten out of hairy situations by just sheer athletic ability of speed and ability to get out of that room. Now that I'm a grown-ass man with a wife, it's like, I can't just bail. I have to keep her safe. And I'm willing to die. Right? So whether it's the cops that roll up with their fucking crazy weapons or it's a couple gangbangers that roll up, the goal is not for me to go out like Bruce Willis, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, and be a hero. The goal is to get my wife out alive even if I die. So the goal is to buy time. And the only way I can buy time is with enough weapons that have enough bullets in them. Period. Yeah. End of story. And I have that right is the point. That's the point. Is right. And whether it's in the Constitution or not is what I'm getting at. Is like as a human being, I reserve that right.
Yes.
To do that. Like I am never going to abide by a law that says no. You can't defend your wife or your household until that man has shown you don't have the ability. Because that's what the law is now. If you break into my house and I have a route to escape.
Yeah, you can stay, make a sandwich, watch some TV, take your shoes off,
right.
Whatever you're gonna do, like and then when you're done.
But here's the thing: if I have a wife and kids in the house, no, dude, you're dying on the spot because there's no. I'm not waiting for you to rush me. I'm not waiting for you to show me a gun. Like, here's what happens: you break into my house, I tell you you're not welcome, I command you to leave. And I count to 3.
I'm prepared to defend myself.
And I count to 3. And if you don't immediately leave, I open fire. Because I'm not waiting for you to try to talk. Hey, calm down, man. Calm down. And then boom, you stab me. You take my weapon, you go upstairs, you shoot my wife, and then you rape my 2 kids. It's not happening.
Look, man, hopefully, the thing is.
But that's what the laws say we're supposed to do right now.
I know what they say. Hopefully, man. Hopefully, brother, we will never, any of us, anybody that I know, ever have to be in that situation.
I'm not even advocating for stand your ground laws. I'm advocating for castle defense laws. No, dude, I want to be able to just defend my castle.
I just got to tell you, man,
period.
And Angel,
and I know you're not
Angel, my wife of almost 1 year. We're gonna have our anniversary in a couple days here.
But you've been together for 15.
Yeah, this is gonna be we've been together 15 years, but we've been married for 1. We have 2 beautiful children.
I can't believe I got married before you.
Yeah, we have an 8-year-old son and a 4-year-old son, and I told her flat out, I don't want to live bullet by bullet. I got a lot, but I don't want to live that way, and she already knows. I will trade all of that stuff. If she wants me to, I will trade it all right now for a new surfboard, and I'll go live out my days the way that I plan on doing it anyways on the beach and surfing my days out. And that's my plan.
I'm too paranoid for all that, dude. Nope, I'm buying more guns and I'm buying more bullets.
I'm just saying, like I I don't want to live that way. Right now, I'm living by the sword, and we know what it says. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. And I'm just saying that's the deal.
Yeah,
so
well, think
like,
about that though. You live by the sword, you die by the sword, and then they say the pen is mightier than the sword, but you don't live by the pen, die by the pen, right? Like, so that's such a foolish statement. Live by the sword, die by the sword. It's like, yeah, no shit. That's how most fucking everything in this world dies.
I'm just saying that.
Like, almost no one makes it to the end of their life and dies on their deathbed.
I might even die by the sword when I'm not living by the sword, but then, like I said, that's on them, not on me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know, man. I got all kinds of. My life has changed over the past 3 or 4 years. I've been into some stuff, into my knowledge, into my research. I research.
Well, let's get back to the hunting thing, because
hunting, right?
Well, because that's what we were originally talking about, and like,
no, man, it was an amazing experience. It wasn't because of the apocalypse. It was because I had some equipment that I bought. I started going to the range a lot. I was shooting a lot.
Did you have an idea you wanted to do this before you got the bow?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it about a year ahead of time. Oh, I might do some. I can maybe shoot a turkey. Maybe I wouldn't feel that bad.
So it was almost serendipitous. This fucking bow comes into
I got the bow, and then I got
into your path.
Then I got basically let go from my job. And here's the best part about it. So like, I'm out there for a few weeks. I get out there. See, the thing is at this point in my job, I was getting kind of bored. I had kind of a cool job where I could make a lot of stuff. I was making some cool. I got a drum kit painted when I was there. They paid me like. Seriously, as long as that took me to do and how long I worked on it, they probably paid me like $20,000 to paint that drum kit and then to work on it, right? And how much I wasn't working on their stuff because we were so slow for a long time and whatnot. And I was getting so bored there, man. I couldn't even make it to work on time. But you know what I could do? I could get out there at 4 a.m. in the hunting grounds that we were going to. And I was out there at the crack of dawn, already ready to go. I had my backpack ready to go, my bow strapped to my backpack. And then what I figured out eventually at this place I was hunting, that I could ride my bike really far in and then break off into a couple of these fields that I was going to and whatnot. And I would just sit out there all day.
Oh, so you went by yourself?
Yeah, a couple of times my buddy Miles came with me, and he's hunted for a while, but we wouldn't stay together because then we just sit there and talk and whatnot. We had, and you don't want to be doing that while you're hunting. You want to be very still. These turkeys, it's crazy. They have very good eyesight. The smell part of it isn't a big deal, so you don't have to like descent and whatnot.
Right.
But so humans, we see in binocular vision, so basically 2 images into one.
Correct.
Right. Yep. These turkeys,
and that's what gives us depth.
And these turkeys see in like binocular visions. They can see like 270 degrees or something because they're looking out both sides of their head. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, so they can see you.
And the only blind spot is right behind their head.
Yeah, they just see any movement out there, and they're gone. They just think it's something where they feel the pressure on them. These things aren't dumb. I mean,
bet you turkey hunting is harder with a bow. Not because of the skill aspect, but because there's so much more movement.
Yeah, you have to draw on them.
Right.
Man, I could tell you a crazy story. Just a short story. I was out there one day, and so I finally quit doing this. I finally quit carrying my phone with me out there at one point because that's just kind of a habit that I've been getting more into lately anyways, just carrying my phone less, not worrying about it, like living more like it was like before phones were around. So if I didn't need that, yes, there was pay phones I could drop a quarter into if I had to make a call. But like, yeah,
what's the reasoning for that?
Because, man, the reasoning is because I'm sick and tired of these MFs listening to me, and I'm tired. I don't want to be tracked. And that's the bottom line. I don't even want them seeing. I don't even want them seeing where I'm going on these hunting routes.
But think about how 5 or 10 years ago people would have laughed at you.
And dude, I want to be left alone. They're not listening, except I might mention something and they're trying to sell me what I mentioned 10 minutes later.
No one's interested in Rich and your stupid, boring life. Well, guess what? Now they're absolutely doing it, not because they're interested in your boring life, but because they're interested in what you might want to buy.
I'll tell you what.
So they fucking hear you through your fucking microphone on your smartphone talking about hunting, right? Mine's on. Right. We're talking about bow hunting. Like, I guarantee you, when I get on Facebook later
sell me
tonight,
some camo or something.
When I get on Facebook later tonight, there will be fucking bow hunting ads because we have said bow hunting 100 times already.
Exactly.
Like, it is real and it does happen. And so when we talked about this 5-10 years ago, they called us fucking nuts.
And especially with all the stuff,
they called us fucking paranoid.
All the stuff that I research, I guarantee I'm on a list of some degree at this point. But that's just besides the point.
Honestly, I'm shocked every time I'm allowed on a plane. Every time I get on a fucking plane and fly somewhere, I'm like, well, okay, so far so good. I'm convinced. I know I'm on lists.
You know, and I got to say this too. I'm relatively kind of proud. I mean, I know they're going to break me at some point, but while I was turkey hunting for those 6 weeks is the only time they've gotten a mask on me yet. And the only reason I wore it is because it serves a purpose, and that purpose is to camouflage my face.
So you're
and besides then, they have not gotten on me one yet, and they're not going to get one on me, and I'm not freaking going on to the next level, and the next level after that.
They got a word for you.
A-hole, call me what you want.
No,
I don't care.
They call you guys mask holes.
Fine.
You guys
call me whatever
holes.
the heck I am, because you know already, number one, I'm not on social media. I've never been on Facebook, not one day in my whole life, and I never will. And yeah, that's right. And and I just don't, you know, yeah. So I'm one of those guys, and they're not gonna get one on me unless all of a sudden like I'm dying and my family's dying, because I will go, you know, if I need to go get some food or whatever, you know. But yeah, I mean, like, whatever, man. I'm not playing their game. You know, I'm serious. I'm not like, not right now. And even as I'm, you know, they hear me say it all day long anyway. So it doesn't matter if I'm on this podcast and they put the face with the name. I don't care. They already know. Right. So people can think whatever they want. And I think it's actually false, because the thing is, it's a frame of mind. They keep on telling me that I have to have a mask on to go participate and like going to Cub to go buy some groceries, or just going to Quick Trip. I'll tell you right now, right before I got over here, I just stopped in Quick Trip. I got you that 12-pack of Mountain Dew and a Red Bull. I didn't have no mask, and the guy served me, didn't say one dang word to me, and got in, got out, did my business, no hassle, nothing, right?
There's a lot of places that aren't enforcing
they're not, because it's not their job. It's not their job to, like, I go to Cub, it's not going to be some teenager kid job to police me. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, I just probably have that look on my face where it's like, yeah, nobody even looks me in the eye anymore. Won't say a word to me. If you believe in it that strongly, then you should at least mace me or freaking look me in the eye or something. Mace me then. You know, I don't really want it, but like I became the enemy, as many people that think like I do, and I became the enemy in less than 4 months. And what's kind of crazy is, I will say this, and I've mentioned this many times, and people that know me, you know, I'm subscribed to about 30 channels. I get a lot of my information from, you know, on YouTube, which people tell me I can't do, which I think is
you
bull
can,
crap. No, listen,
but you got to be careful, man.
I do.
It's really
you have
easy.
to use discernment. That's right.
It's really
that's
easy
right.
for me to
just
make a
as
YouTube
we were talking
video,
about, you were talking.
But hold on,
you listen to Joe Rogan.
Hold on.
You know?
It's really easy for me to make a YouTube video full of misinformation and disinformation and put it out there for you, and you believe in a bullshit conspiracy that now makes you look so insane and uncredible that when you do start talking about things are the truth, I can discredit you because you also believe, hypothetically, the world is flat, right? I'm not saying you do believe the world is flat.
Well, whether I do or don't, I have spent some time within that. I have researched it for a period of time. In all honesty, I'm not in a position to prove whether it is or isn't, and either is anybody else. And that's
yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. It's simple math. It's super easy math. They actually... See, this is what shocks me about the flat earth thing is, dude, like when you and I were in elementary school, we were still in the age where they showed us how they figured out the world was flat. Remember, they brought us out to the football field and we measured the different angles in the shadows at different times of the day. And then they showed us, they said, if you do this math and look how it's done, because you can figure this out. And then they had us take the math and we did it on an orange, and then we did it on other shapes and other sizes. So they showed us that the math is consistent, and you can figure this out with a very, very close measure of accuracy.
So because my elementary school teacher said so, therefore it is.
No, your elementary school showed you how to do it
lie
yourself.
Piled on top of lie piled on top of lie.
They showed you how to figure it out yourself.
I'm just saying, like, along with the other bull
That's
crap.
the point of math. Math is the opposite of religion. Don't trust the mathematicians. Here's the math we came up with. Fact check it.
Right.
And then the only time something gets accepted as fact is when hundreds of other people come to the same conclusion. Then they're like, yep, the math checks out.
Well, my only point is I didn't say I was a flat earther, but the thing is I think that the reality is people would have a really hard time proving one or the other.
It's not hard to prove that the earth is round.
And
it's
I will
super
say,
easy to prove
if
that
that
the earth
knowledge
is round.
came to be true, that would destroy. It would just level the snots out
There
of
is
people.
zero chance that the Earth is flat.
Okay, well, that's fine if you believe that. I'm not even saying I'm just saying, like, I think people have a hard time proving that on their own. So that's all I'm saying.
Most people, because most people are idiots.
A lot of people, I'm not.
It does not take a highly intelligent person to work out the math to figure out that the Earth is round.
Okay.
There's dozens and dozens of experiments that you can show the curvature of the Earth. For example, why do you think on old pirate ships they had the fucking the crow's nest so they could see past the horizon, so they could see farther? Because when you're down on surface level, you can only see so far. So up on the crow's nest, you would see land before you were. There you go.
I'm just saying, I know.
Like, they knew the Earth was fucking round before they had satellites.
Who knew
because the
this?
math, everyone. Like, it started off with one crazy asshole, okay? One crazy asshole. And then once everybody else fucking cross-checked them over hundreds of years, and here's the crazy thing, dude. Christians started murdering people when they said the fucking Earth was round. And then everybody came around and was like, wait a minute, no, it is fucking round.
So that's an interesting statement altogether. I mean, I got to just stop you. How or what exactly made those guys Christians?
Okay. I see where you're going.
I'm just
with this.
curious because
I see where you're going with this.
I guess my only point of that.
They said they were Christians.
Well,
there, you got me in your box. You got me in your
well,
little box. Knock, knock, knock. There's the nail. You got me in the box. They claimed they were Christians.
I'm right certain.
They represented the church.
If
they
claim,
were Christian authorities.
If I claim that I'm something, that doesn't necessarily mean
I get it.
that
Yep.
I am.
I get it.
That's just my only point.
No, I've made that argument 1,000 times.
I think there's a lot of people. People need to be careful with that in this world, especially the times that we're living in. And people, there's things to figure out for some people right now, and for everybody. That's just the bottom line. And I think people have gotten themselves into a box to some degree in their way of thinking because of what the world has sold them. And that's my only point to that is you kind of said, well, these guys came over, these Christians, and they were murdered. Well, in my opinion, at least what my minimal knowledge would be, I'm pretty sure Jesus never said, go kill in my name. And
True.
That's my only point to that.
That's
so
fair. If
somebody goes out there and claims, I suppose, that they're a Christian, there's like some crazy, pedophile preachers, and there's crazy, Kenneth Copeland. He's like a devil, dude.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Don't they claim to be Christians?
Yes.
Well, they're
there's
not.
There's a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing.
I'm just saying they're not. So
The Family. Have you seen The Family on Netflix?
No, I don't.
Okay. Let me just real quick. It's exactly what you're talking about. Okay. So I was watching this documentary on Netflix. It's called The Family. Okay. And as I'm like, God, had to be over halfway through it, 3/4 of the way through it. My buddy Dalton texts me, and Dalton was on the podcast. He used to be in the NSA, and he goes, "You need to watch this documentary," because him and I had already had a lot of these Illuminati conversations, right? And he's like, "You need to watch this conspiracy or this. You need to watch this fucking documentary. It's some serious deep state level shit." And I was like, "I'm watching it right now." By the way, these guys are Satan worshipers, and he texts me back, LOL, I knew, and said to myself, quote, Jared's going to call these guys Satan worshipers, and I'm not even going to be able to argue with him. So it's exactly what you're talking about.
Well, they probably were.
It's a group of people who pose as Christians, right? And they're like, my understanding of how real Christianity works and real spiritualism works is that what these guys were doing was some weird perverted version of Christianity, which basically turned around as like how traditional Christians would say Satan worshiping. So let me explain that for people who immediately think I'm going off the deep end. Here's the deal. A lot of different religions are worshiping God via a different Messiah. So we're not getting into which religion is correct, and we're not getting into which religions are wrong. But I am going to use examples. So, for example, the Islamic religion, the Muslim religion, and the Judaism religion, the Judaic religion, they all worship the same God. Period. Allah is the Muslim word for God. So when we say God and they say Allah, they're talking about the same person.
God's a title.
Exactly. Okay. The dispute is the Muslims believe Muhammad is the Messiah and the Christians believe Jesus Christ is the Messiah. The Jews believe, and that's broken down into like 3 distinct groups. One of them believe the Messiah still hasn't come. There is something called the Messianic Jews, which do believe in Jesus, but hold on to the original laws. But then you've got all the other religions that talk about like creating your own reality, and they customize these faiths. So where I'm going with this is guys like the people mentioned in the family, they're doing it with Christianity. What we know as like Islamic extremism, like terrorists, they're doing it with Islam. They're doing it with the Muslim religion. They're weaponizing specific parts to basically further their own means. Now, so when I talk about Satan worshiping and secret societies and the Illuminati, I'm not talking about like the devil's actually coming in physical form and communicating with human beings and giving them a game plan. Is what I'm saying is that human beings in these different groups, faking as different religions, have been seduced into believing that they're truly enlightened above other humans, and they customize and create their own faction, and they're being seduced basically by quote unquote the devil, so to speak, and they start doing quote unquote the devil's work, right? And it sounds insane until you start thinking about things like the Catholic religion, which has not only fucking added holy deities, right? So this is why Christians have a problem with the Catholics, because they don't pray just to Jesus.
That's the problem, is people...
They pray to like 12 other people before Jesus.
When you talk about Christians, people immediately think of Catholics and sorry to break
pedophilia and the rape.
I'm sorry to break it to everybody out there, but if you do your own research, you're going to come to the same answer that, has, you're going to come to the answer that
Christianity is not Catholicism.
That they're not related.
They're not the same religion.
They try to steal some things from that, but they're not.
Correct.
Not, so you got to let it go. You got to.
And the fucked up
do
part
your own research.
The fucked up part is the Catholic Church was founded by one of Jesus's original 12 disciples, one of the apostles, and he was the first pope. And so that's why a lot of people still think that way, because it was birthed out of Christianity. But my point
I don't
is,
know if that's accurate.
it is 100%. Trust me. You can fact check. I just can't remember the name of the apostle or disciple, but it was like, I think it was like fucking Saul or Paul or John or Jacob or one of the main ones. Like for real, you could easily look it up and cross check me. I'm so confident I'm not even going to look it up on the podcast. Just Google it and fact check me. The Catholic Church. The first pope was one of Jesus's original 12 motherfuckers. Now listen, here's the point, is all of this shit, when I talk about Satan worshipers, when I talk about the Illuminati, when I talk about these conspiracies, it's different groups that aren't working together, right? So like the Masons don't work with the Council on Foreign Relations. The Council on Foreign Relations doesn't work with the Trilateral Commission. These are separate groups.
I'm pretty sure that the group that you just mentioned is, they're they got a lot of control. And the way that they gain their control is order out of chaos. They state it. That's how they state it themselves. And
correct. They create a problem and then they step in with the solution.
Hegelian dialect. So anybody that studies that understands that.
Right. And this is why I freak out about.
Does anybody see that going on right now?
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what I seen during the riots. Is I kept trying to warn people, my friends and family, like you guys. Here's the deal: is like. You think you're rioting and looting for justice in George Floyd, but what you're really doing is giving the government the chaos they need to step in and provide the solution, which is always stripping away more rights. So the result of violence from the people is always the result.
Trade your freedom for security.
Exactly, and the result is always a more fascist government. And now we're seeing the manifestation of George W. Bush's fucking Homeland Security policy with the Patriot Act and all that other bullshit, because now we're seeing Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Control, those guys being enforced on U.S. soil, which they promised us after 9/11 when they created this, that DHS would never be deployed on American soil. This was for foreign problems. And now they're doing it because somebody, and I don't know who they is, but somebody has convinced us that we need to go to war civilly. We need to go to another civil war. They've convinced another group of people that we need to start a race war. They've convinced another group of people that white people are oppressing all black people. They've convinced another group of people that all black people are bad. But there's somebody out there pitting everyone against each other, and it's working.
If you research some of these things, you can research stuff and you can find the answers to all this, because they told us this is how they were going to do it.
This is true.
All of this information is published through their own writings.
This is true.
I don't need to mention who those people are, because all you got to do is a little research and you'll.
Yeah, there is.
Let me put it this way: there's one in your town. There's a lodge in your town right now, and and if there's not, there's one in the next town over. Okay,
and it's so one of two things is happening here. Either people in societies are extremely predictable, and so they just said this is how it'll happen, or they were mapping a game plan and now they're implementing it. Here's the thing, is like, this shit was predicted. Between, you want to go into George Orwell,
it's predicted, it's that it's written about. So the thing
is,
so
whether it's people like George Orwell, maybe he was just really good at predicting how society.
Who is George Orwell? Was he part of the club? I'm sure he was.
But here's my point: is either one of two things is true. Either A, he was writing a game plan, or B, he was so. There's a high probability that people and societies are extremely easy to predict, because I have always maintained that a person is smart, but people are dumb. People in large groups of people in large groups do not make sound decisions. They're panicky.
Yeah, it's like Beavis and Butthead trying to run the show.
Dude, I mean, there's a fucking quote in Men in Black about it. Like, Tommy Lee Jones said almost verbatim what I just said. And you know, that movie came out so long ago, I was probably 12 years old. That might have even where I originally heard that from. But regardless of whether I got that from Men in Black or not when I was a child, it's fucking true.
I guess because
degree. I predicted every single thing that would happen once they announced the COVID shutdown. I literally predicted George Floyd to my...
You didn't predict it. It's just that...
No, I literally predicted George Floyd, just not in Minneapolis.
You didn't predict it. It's just that it's been engraved into your mind for so long, you already knew what to expect.
No, I knew how people would react. So when the shutdown came, I said, here's what's going to happen.
Yeah, because you've seen it play on every movie they've shown you for the last 20 years.
Some fucking cop's going to kill some innocent black dude, and the fucking country's going to go down because people don't have any fucking money and they see an opportunity to create chaos. Sure as shit it happened. And then I said, once that happens, then the government's going to come in and they're going to fucking usher in more fucking fascism. They're going to strip rights. And now we got a Democratic Party running that still wants to take away your guns. Like, the Democratic Party, that ticket right now.
Take them. Just give me a surfboard in return. Whatever. Take them.
Fuck that. You ain't taking my guns, because you've already proven you can't protect me. You've already proven that the people you put in power murder citizens.
These guys, whether they're on this side or that side. Okay, number one, let me explain. Years ago, somehow or another, I started getting really involved in the political paradigm. And it was like, it was consuming me. Okay. And I was researching all kinds of videos. I mean, I was going from completely one end of the spectrum to the other. I'll tell you, I was researching people like Louis Farrakhan. I was researching people like David Duke. If you know anything about those two guys, they got some views. You know,
David Duke's the dude who. David Duke is
You know, I'm pretty sure like back
David Duke
when I was listening to Anthrax, they were like, Farrakhan's a prophet. You got to listen to.
Hold on.
So I listened to him.
Hold on.
You know?
I can't remember. I was trying to fucking chime in there. Explain to people who David Duke is for people that don't know. I'm pretty sure
he was like the grand master or whatever of the KKK for a very long time.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Right. And he's got some views. He's, you know, it's kind of interesting listening to him. I listened to Farrakhan. And then all of a sudden, for
people that don't know who's Farrakhan, explain to people that don't know.
So Farrakhan is the leader of the Nation of Islam. He's got his views about basically we're where people like me came from, you know, and I find it interesting because, man, I must be hard to offend.
This is also the
know,
same
like,
guy who called my people cockroaches.
Well, no,
recently
you were born with if you're white, you're born with tails. You're born from a cave.
He called us Jews cockroaches. That's what he said. He compared us to cockroaches.
Right. Okay, so I mean, I know who I listened to probably 40+ hours of this guy. Okay, nonetheless,
he's a racist piece of shit. Fuck that guy.
Well, I don't know if he is or not, right?
But he called Jews cockroaches.
I understand.
You're racist when you compare a human being to an insect.
My opinion is if you talk about
a disease-spreading insect,
if you talk about race a lot and you always put like a race in front of like a movement or something like that, chances are is you're racist because all you do is talk about race. So, I mean, it's really not on the topic of my discussion a lot because I just, whatever. I mean, but the people that put it in front of everything, then I think they got like a race problem. So, but let me just continue here for a second because I think this is so important. I was actually falling down this path. I listened to all kinds of dudes. I was listening to Crowder. I was listening to Shapiro.
Crowder's good shit.
I used to listen, and that's the paradigm I was in. And yes, I was listening to a lot of that stuff because I just loved watching college students just get freaking destroyed. I mean, there's something enjoyable. I just loved it. But beyond that, I finally asked myself a question as I was going a little bit too far down this paradigm, and it was kind of starting to scare me a little bit because I felt like I was starting to gravitate towards something that I knew just was not me. And I don't know if I contemplated or meditated or prayed or whatever it is about it. And I finally got led to a different position. And that's where my real research started. And a lot of it, you know, I could say, like I said, I was really slow at my job for a long time. I think they paid me like probably like 40 or 50 grand to study the occult for 2 years. I'm not kidding. Right. You know, and they did. And I studied and I studied and I studied. And when I kind of found one thing interesting that I always kind of, and I don't know if this is completely true because I'm not really an occultist. I'm not a Thalemist like Aleister Crowley and all of his followers. And they're many and they run deep. And I'll tell you that. And many of the people that were influences to us and probably idols to us and whoever they were at times. I mean, unfortunately, from what I've noticed, many, if not all, are in the club, and that's just an unfortunate thing. But they still have time to figure it out. Doesn't mean they're not an influence on me musically and whatnot, but unfortunately, I think, and we see the time and place that this happened for some of our heroes, and including one of my favorites, Metallica. So I think I see the time and place that this occurred in their career. Anyway, as it's kind of a little bit beside the point, but I got so deeply into things. I think of one piece of knowledge that always struck me that I found that just was so interesting to me that you learn that they have a set of ethics and a code that they have to follow, and it's not the same code that like you and I follow, which is basically, you know, what the Bible would teach, and that we live by the golden rule, and you treat others the way that you want to be treated, and that's what Jesus taught. I mean, that's just a common, you know, respect to your brothers and sister, or whatever. But they live by a different code, and one of those codes that I always thought was interesting is they have to reveal what they're going to do before they do it. They have to let us know, and that could come in many different forms. That could come in backmasked music, that could come in just published writing materials, that could come in music videos, album covers, movies, and they tell us all the time what the plan is. And the reality is, and people think this, that I don't care what people think about me. I got one judge basically. I don't care what people think of me, but the reality is the movies and all that stuff, that's real, and the news is fake, and that's just the bottom line. And they tell us what they're going to do before they do it, and then they get our minds used to it, and
give people an example.
It's predictive programming. Research it for yourself. Don't believe a word I say.
But here's the thing, dude.
Slow
down. Right? You're data dumping people right now. You're overwhelming them with information, and they have no fucking idea.
Not really. I don't think we should spend a whole lot of time talking about this stuff. We got music to speak about, and other things.
Give people at least one example, like a tangible, real world example of something they're doing that kind of summarizes what you're talking about.
Man, there's just so much. You could just step out your door right now and you could see what's going on, and you could see, in all honesty, I don't believe in racism. I just don't. I believe that if you stuck two babies in a room and let's say you stuck one white kid and one, Asian kid, whatever, and you stuck them in a room, they don't speak the same language. They don't care about the color of their skin. They don't care about if they're a man or woman, girl or boy, and they immediately start reacting to each other and acting to each other, and they play and whatnot. But the study would show that you stick two adults in the same room that's already speak their own languages and whatnot, and they don't know how to converse with each other. They don't know how to interact. They don't want to play, really, right? I mean, like,
sure.
And I truly don't believe that there's any true racism. And I know people would be like, oh, that's just bogus and whatever. But man, believe what you want. But I just don't believe in that. And I do believe that that's placed on us, and we're forced into all this. Doesn't people see like how this is total just, it's all divide and conquer. Everybody goes into their separate groups, flies their own flags. I thought the flag that we live under, even though I don't necessarily support that flag, I don't pledge my allegiance to the flag. I'm sorry. People want to come kicking my door because I guess come on over. But I don't support that for my own reasons because of this country, and because
what are those reasons? What do you mean?
Well, one, because you look at your dollar bill. What does it say on it? You start studying some of those simple symbols and whatnot. What does it say on it? It says, "In God we trust,"
which was put on in 1952 to help fight communism. Who was anti-religion?
I don't know.
Part of Dwight
I know
D.
that in
campaign.
1776, this country was started, and the group of the guys that started it, they were in a club.
Yeah, that is true.
And they were all Masons. And that club still exists to this day.
That is true.
And I'm not saying that every third-degree guy in this club is part of the great work.
Sure.
They're probably honestly just there to make pancakes and serve their community. I get it, right? But I think once you start to study, thing is, and I've argued with my wife about this. I've argued with my mom and every friend I got about it. And yeah, so I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm not a coincidence theorist. I never will be.
Okay, so I'm gonna give an example about this. So for example, you're doing a deal, you're doing something, whatever it is. You're born into money, you're born into success, whatever, or you work yourself up from the ground up. But then, basically, back in the day, the running theory was if you made it to the top, you got approached and you were told, that's all cool, but now you're going to start pushing our agenda, and if you don't, you're done. So, for example...
I think we could see that.
So, for example, Tupac is a great example, right? So, yes, Tupac was a gangbanger, but he also had affiliations with the Black Panthers.
He served a purpose.
He also had a small army of loyal followers, and it is proven that the FBI, or maybe it was the CIA, it was the FBI. The FBI started the East Coast, West Coast rap war, because the gangs were getting so powerful that they wanted to create chaos, right?
Even the gangs, their colors, red and blue.
So is what they did. And most people don't understand, but most gangs were started as community service organizations to protect their own neighborhood through, guess what? Police brutality. So, or a lack of police enforcement. So these citizens started roaming their own neighborhoods armed. Like the GDs were started, I think now they're called the Gangsters' Disciples or God's Disciples, depending on where you're from. But originally, it stood for Growth and Development. So they started off with, the road to hell is paved with good... Well,
they definitely grew and developed.
But you know how that old adage, like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So they started off trying to protect their communities. They got really powerful and started doing such a good job that the government started fearing them. So the FBI created chaos by literally manufacturing the East Coast, West Coast rap war. And then that created so much fucking chaos and so much gun violence. The government came in and provided a solution. More gun control. You see this? So all this shit you've been ranting about, that's what I meant when I said, give us an example, just one, right? And now, if you want to go down the even further conspiracy side of like the Satan worship and shit, right?
Well, that's where it ends
Tupac
up.
talks about it. Tupac talks about it, though. He started noticing the Illuminati signs and all this weird shit, and they started telling him what he had to do and what images he wanted or they wanted in his. And when he started rejecting that, they basically shut him down. They framed him for rape. They got him in jail. That's when he learned about the Illuminati and what was really happening. So when he came out, he started a hip hop group called Killuminati, and they fucking murdered him for it because he started talking about it. Fucking Snoop Dogg wrote a song. Fucking murder was the case that they gave me. All of a sudden, boom, he ends up on fucking trial for murder. He barely gets off, and him and Tupac are in an interview.
He ends up on insurance commercials.
Dude, but here's the thing: is Tupac starts talking about some shit, and he leans over and he goes, "Right, Snoop?" And Snoop's sitting there smoking a blunt with fucking sunglasses on, and he just looks like this. He just goes, like, "Don't fucking bring me into this shit. You're treading on dangerous water here, Pac." And fucking literally, Tupac ends up getting murdered. So this shit sounds insane, but you know what also sounded insane? That we'd have a meat shortage. You know what also sounded insane? That a fucking disease would come through and wipe out the economy like that. You know what also sounds insane? Is that Department of Homeland Security would be deployed on American citizens 20 years after that bill was passed, because rioters and looters have turned into domestic terrorists, and now they're ruining the fuck. All of this is insane until it's right in front of your fucking face.
It especially sounds insane to people that have been living by the news narrative.
You know what else was insane?
And they don't go deeper. You don't go below the crust.
You know what else was insane?
You know,
the casting couch theory, that there was a Hollywood sex ring where you had to suck your way to the top. That was a conspiracy. Nope, Harvey Weinstein, real. You know what else was insane? That there's a child pedophilia ring running through the fucking Hollywood and down to all the way up to the Wall Street elites. Guess what? Fucking
well, I'm not buying
Jeffrey
them.
Epstein.
Isn't it the biggest business in the world? I always ask the question, isn't it the biggest business in the world? Apparently, I see like billboards when I'm driving.
Human trafficking, yep.
But how many did you buy last year?
None.
Well, I didn't either, so who's buying them?
Rich people.
Okay,
but this was insane 5 years ago. Then
right,
Jeffrey Epstein gets busted. Boom, now it's reality. Let's go back 20 years. Guess what? The Catholic Church is molesting kids, and not only that, they know about it, and not only that, they're covering it up. That's insane. You're paranoid. Well, guess what? Fucking fact now.
Because when you start researching like sex magic and stuff like that, you start to understand that your power that you believe comes from molesting little boys.
And I'm just
start to connect.
Right.
Some people
drinking their blood or some other crazy shit
all this
we hear
stuff
about.
is like making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right? Some people are working on the jelly, some people are working on the peanut butter, and some people are just working on the bread. But you got to put them all together to be able to make that sandwich, and that's the deal. Like
that's a crazy analogy, but it works a little bit.
It takes a long time, and you do have to discern through things that just don't make sense, right?
Yep.
And a lot of this stuff don't make sense. And I'm not sure. I'll tell you what, and I don't know why I got so deep into a lot of those just rabbit holes and whatnot. But I think the thing is what interests me is truth. And I don't believe truth is relative. I believe it's absolute. And truth to me is finer than refined gold. So
you don't believe in alternative truths? Alternative facts?
I just don't believe that truth is relative. I believe that there's probably many truths, but I also believe in an ultimate truth about, and I'm sure that's arguable. Of course it is, because people have their opinions. Everybody's got one. And,
sure.
The thing is I do believe that if people started actually digging up below the crust, that I think ultimately they would end up where I am as well. Now, I'm not saying like I'm at some elevated state of thought or whatnot, but what I'm saying is like there is stuff underneath all this stuff. The left-right political paradigm, in my belief, is kind of just a circus show to keep everybody. It's just bread and circus. I mean, it's just to keep everybody kind of. I don't believe that my vote counts. I don't believe that having a choice between a-hole 1 or a-hole B is actually a real choice. There's got to be something more than that. It got to be more than whatever. And so therefore I'm staying out of it. Actually, I'm just completely staying out of it. I'll never vote again.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, it's tough when they keep just shoveling two shitty candidates down our throat over and over again.
I'm instructed to pray for my leaders, not out for them. So whatever, I'm gonna stay out of it.
So back to hunting.
hunting. Well,
You got another one of them beers?
I don't. So you're gonna have to. I brought 3, and I gave you the one that I got there. This.
That's fine. I really don't need to drink
zombie
that much.
dust.
I'm sipping on this
And then I
peanut
got
butter whiskey.
something
anyways.
else. It was my birthday a couple days ago, and
Nice.
some people brought me some pretty wild
Some Rogue.
beers and some stuff I
I
haven't
think
had.
these guys are out of
I'm an
California.
IPA
this
guy,
is
so
Three Floyds.
I can pretty much drink almost any IPA for the most part. I like stuff with bite,
Where are these guys based out of?
I'm not sure. I didn't
That's
look.
Rogue. I think
usually-
those guys are California.
I usually
but this
read about where
place-
it comes from, I suppose.
They almost always put it right on the thing.
It was good.
Let's see.
I enjoyed
Indiana.
Indiana, right on.
Munster, Indiana.
Well, they can make some beer in Indiana too, I suppose. Right on. I used to be kind of a big Surly guy for a while. And I think you were too at one point, or maybe still are, or whatnot. But, Furious, man, that stuff, there's something about Furious, and it's just that stuff in particular that just gets...
It knocks you on your ass,
It gets
man.
me, like, weird, buzzed, drunk, and it doesn't take much. You know me, I'm not a drinker. So if I drink, like, just a couple, I got a pretty decent buzz, and, my wife makes fun of me for that all the time, and that's
Sure.
fine. I don't think that's actually a bad thing to be
Right.
kind of a lightweight. It's just,
Right.
I've always been that way. People know me. I mean, we rocked at WeFest, or, we used to work WeFest, and we did that for 20 some years.
Right.
Me and my close friends, we had a nice business that we ran up there, and that was always interesting. But yeah, if I could be up and walking around drinking, I can manage. But if, like, you get me at some party or something and get drunk, and then you sit me down on the couch, I got like probably a couple minutes before it's not good. So I'm not a drinker. I never have been. I'm kind of a puss when it comes to that, which is probably always a good thing, because being a drummer, and being the type of drummer I am, and just being a high energy, I play my drums like karate kind of. I'm kind of like I was playing through them instead, whatever, and that's probably hack, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, man, being high energy like that, I can't drink on stage because, number one, I can't drink before I go on stage because, when you're in some of these like positions where you're playing in between two bands, see, sometimes I always like being first, or
Right.
being a headliner where actually like you leave your drums up, which has rarely happened to me. And, but there has been a few occasions where my drum kit got to be up there, but just, if you play first, then your stuff's already set up. But if you play somewhere in the middle and it's this mad rush and just this dash, especially as a drummer, if I like drink, if I'm drunk, if I'm even buzzed or whatever, I'm gonna be up there tripping over chords and all this crap and can't get my stuff straight. And it's a disaster. So I kind of not eventually, but I've never been a drinker, but I would always maybe bring up like 2 beers with me.
Yeah.
And then once I got up there and everything was good to go and all my stuff worked and wasn't tangled into spaghetti knots and all this crap, then I could finally maybe just chuck, a little bit of beer and then get a little bit warmed up, and then that would loosen me into the first song.
I bring 3 beverages when I played drums. When I played drums, I brought 3 beverages up. Literally, I brought a glass of ice water, a cold beer, and a fucking Coke with ice in it as well. And
I gotta have some sugar.
Yep. And between those 3, I would finish all 3 beverages by the end of my set. Every time. 45-minute set. Every single time. The beer would be gone. The water would be gone. And here's the craziest thing is the beer would be gone. The water would be gone first. The beer would be gone second. And the Coke would be gone last. Or no. Sorry. It was water. It was water, Coke, then beer. Beer was the last one that I would finish. And I don't understand still to this day, but I'll be playing and I'll get done with that song. And I'll have like a different craving for the type of hydration I want. So sometimes I get done with that song and I just fucking slam like half that water. Boom. And then that melts, right? The ice and shit under the lights. And then after the next song, I slam half the Coke. And then fucking I go back to the water, then the Coke, water, Coke, until they're both gone. And then I just finish that beer over like the last 3 songs. I don't know what it is, man.
Like I said, I'd bring like 2 beers up. But they wouldn't be like Surly Furious. They'd be like Coronas.
I'll bring an IPA up there.
Because
I'll bring an IPA
even for that, there's so much energy and I sweat so hard right away, and that just might be like part of my physicality, whatever. But like it just goes right through me, and I'm telling you, man, there's something about that Surly, dude. What I equated it to whatever it is in it. It's just that evil, man. You know, it's that evil that they have. Like, and they put it on their cans, and they got all kinds of
fire.
They got all kinds of evil images, like in their brewery and stuff like that. It's like
they're very into metal. That's because a bunch of the workers are into death metal.
They must have like learned how to get that evil into their beer, and then so I kind of gave up on that. And there's actually like a brewery down in Shakopee, I think, or Savage, that is closed. I live in Burnsville, but in Savage, called Badger Hill, that I like a lot. They make some nice stuff. It's expensive. A 6-pack costs you $10 or $11,
right?
But
that's the route it's going.
It's nice stuff. I like that a lot. And yeah, I'm not really a big beer drinker. I probably drink maybe one every other night or something.
I've been drinking way too much since shutdown, bro.
Right. Well, that's what happens. Isn't that's kind of a natural like reaction of one of the things that happen. People sit at home, they're sitting at home and smoke a bunch of weed, and the people that drink more, and you know, I don't know, man. I told Angel, you know, she better, you know, she likes her Jack Daniels. And I told her, you better start stocking up on some of that stuff. And, you know, who knows what's going to happen. I think this November and this winter is going to present something different to us once again that we've maybe never had to deal with, and we'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to learn how to hunt. I've never been hunting. I've fished my whole life.
Right, I'm a horrible fisher, man. That stuff does not do well because I just freaking get my stuff in knots all the time. But I will say this: after my hunting season this year, I went out fishing with my kids a few more times, and then one thing that helped me in fishing a little bit is I learned, especially with my children, that as long as I don't fish, I don't get quite as frustrated, because we go to this spot out on Crystal Lake in Burnsville, and it's an island out in the lake, and we've been canoeing out there actually. We get out there, and as soon as their line hits the water, there's fish on it, right? Little sunnies or crappies.
Sunfish, yep.
So like I've been so busy taking theirs off, rebaiting their hooks, all this stuff, that I kind of figured, like, as long as I don't fish, then I'm not going to have, like, my children be like, well, daddy, I got it. And then I get frustrated. Like, so I just figured, whatever, man. I set my pole down.
Get that a little closer to you.
I set my pole down, and then I actually do a lot better. Just, you know, because fishing has always been so frustrating for me. Just stuff just naturally gets tangled for me, and just the whole deal, whatever. But I've done a lot better this summer with it. And, it's been enjoyable to do that with my children. And
I'll fish, dude. I can fish my ass off, ice fishing, regular fishing. Like, that's not a problem. I've been fishing my whole fucking life, but I never actually been hunting, which is crazy because I've shot a lot of guns in my life. I've been around hunting people my entire life. Just never went hunting. When I was little and I had the opportunity with my dad, or my stepdad, I should say. Didn't go because I was too little, you know. And then by the time I got old enough, I was literally just too busy with music and touring and doing that kind of shit, you know. Wintertime comes around, you're not doing a lot of touring, so you're doing a lot of writing or recording usually if you're up in the northern states. Well, even if you're not in the northern states, there's not a lot of touring in the winter. It's just not the season for it, you know. That's the spring and summer and shit. So
well, a lot of it too is, you know, here's a big thing for me. Okay, so music is part of my life. It always have been. I've been playing drums.
Here, you can move this thing around.
I didn't start super late, but I started playing drums.
Oh, I see that. Hold on here. There you go.
Okay, I started playing drums in 8th grade.
Sure.
And ever since 8th grade, so the summer after 8th grade, I actually met Wally. Okay, even before that, let's start before that. In 5th grade, I met my bass player, Steve, and that's my bass player in Skywind. And we went to Catholic school together, and I started going there in 5th grade. He had already been going there, I think, since kindergarten, I believe. But I met him in 5th grade. He actually defended me over some schoolyard bully and tripped him while he was chasing me, and that was where our relationship began. Neither one of us played music at that point. I started playing drums, though. I played sports. I played football, I played hockey, and I was the captain of my basketball team for 2 years in a row. But the year that I got my drum kit in 8th grade, I quit all sports. And I I was just all in right away, just all in. And the summer after 8th grade, I actually met Wally at Clash of the Titans. And anybody that doesn't know what Clash of the Titans was, it was kind of like a mega tour that was happening, I believe, in 1990 or 91, somewhere in there, 90 possibly, 91. And it was Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, and Alice in Chains, and that was out at Trout Air in Forest Lake. And I met Wally out there, and that was in between 8th and 9th grade. But then in 9th grade, Wally and I and Steve started playing bass at that point. I met Wally at another party at Mike Lanier's house, and that's Wally was playing his acoustic, and that's kind of where it began. And I was like, hey, dude, I play drums. And it started there, and we started a band in high school called Alchemy. And we played the talent shows and whatnot. We won the talent shows a few years in a row. I mean, we were actually a pretty decent band even back then. It kind of happened naturally and quickly. I guess my only point was that I started playing drums at kind of a young age, had been in bands very quickly, and had been in bands my whole life ever since. Zero was another band I was in.
What attracted you to drums? Why was it drums? What grabbed you about that instrument?
I don't know, man. I do remember I started when I was getting into MTV and whatnot. I was a lot into bands like I was into a lot of like 80s new wave stuff, and I still am. But I was starting to get into rock music, and a lot of the bands for me were Whitesnake, Motley Crue. I could just go down the list of bands like that. And actually there's a Joan Jett song and video, I Hate Myself for Loving You. And there was like this move the drummer did, like in the camera, in the video, and he did like this stick, and it just, something clicked in me at that time. And I was big into Bon Jovi at that time and whatnot as well.
Sure.
And like, I started like playing like I made like this pillow drum kit like and it just, those things, I just started really getting into it. And when I used to live with my dad in the summers in Frogtown, St. Paul, and there used to be a shop called Torps back then, and this is before the Guitar Centers really and anything else. And the thing is, my only point is I've been in bands for a long time, and the ups and the downs and all the things that come along with it. And the thing that like has been really just been killing me about this pandemic is, I've always made it like completely open to my other band members and stuff. I was like, hey, I've even said it in text messages and whatnot. Hey guys, if you guys want to get arrested for jamming, I'm your guy. Just call me up. We'll rock. And if they want to kick in the frickin' door and ram our heads out the door because we want to rock, then I'm down for it.
Right.
And it kind of,
keep talking.
It kind of seems to some degree, I don't know, people, everybody's got busy lives. We all do get older. I did understand, especially, I knew Jason and playing and doing his video game channel and whatnot. And he's very good at that. He's natural for that, just like you are for this and whatnot. And it does deter from that. The thing about me as a drummer, especially, I've kind of always relied on having like a studio that we jammed in, and kind of like when all this kind of crap happened, Wither the Tide, basically, in Skywind to some degree, Wither the Tide and Skywind we literally were the last band to rock.
Peanut, enough.
We were the last band to rock above Ryan's or the old Station 4 or whatever you call it. We were literally the last band up there, and that place was such an iconic area for so many years. There's bands that have played from
Isn't that
all
the place
over
you
the
burned
world.
Down?
No, I never burnt down a club. I started the quest on fire by accident once because we used to do pyrotechnics, and it wasn't me that pushed the button. I was behind the drum kit, so you can't blame me.
But it's still your fault because you're the one who did it all.
I was the organizer
Tell
of that,
that
and I had
know.
some big dreams at that time.
Because this is before we met, so I heard of this story. I wasn't there. I didn't see it, and I didn't know you when it happened.
Now,
I found out about it years later.
Okay, well, this is prior to the incident with Great White out in Rhode Island, but only by a few months. I think. And,
For people that don't know what he's talking about, Great White burnt down a club and a bunch of people died because
like
they
over 100 or something.
Yeah,
right?
because they lit off. It's not funny. They lit off. I'm chuckling, but it was a lot of people that died. Like it was a lot, and basically they lit off pyrotechnics that were too large for the small room and the low ceilings. They started the club on fire. The story Rich is going to tell happened before all of that, way before all of that.
No, yeah, probably by at least maybe 6 months or maybe a year,
which is a long time considering,
right?
Like,
and so I guess we had already been doing pyrotechnics at our shows prior. I was dealing with a guy at Twin City Magic who was selling me the pyros directly, and I would go through a catalog with him at the store, and he was the owner. And he would kind of tell me what were what and what worked good and whatnot. And we were getting bigger and bigger every time we went, getting a little bit more bold on that. I will tell you what, man, by the time that we got to that show at the Quest where we did it that time, we'd already done it a few times before that. I had one of my best friends who actually is a very smart and technical dude. He actually built all the controls for it and whatnot. It was all homemade. It was, but we actually bought the actual pyros from a company called Lemaitre, which is a big company that does them for everybody.
Right.
But yeah, we're getting bigger and bigger. I believe we had 16-foot flames that would come out of like these 55-gallon drums that we had cut the tops off of. And the thing, people, if you don't know, pyros come in different like types and whatnot. So when you're at Tier Pyros and you see them at like a big show, there's actually maybe multiple things going off, and you might actually see a visual. But then what also is happening is a second pyro, which is like the noise, the sound, right? And those are called maroons. And you actually had to build what's called a maroon tank for those because there is shrapnel that comes off of it to a degree, and you have to contain that, but it makes like a huge boom. And then you pair that along with the visual part, which was the 16-foot flame. So at that time of the Quest, and this is one of those times that, Wally, when he was telling you about, whether the numbers were quite accurate or not, but nonetheless, this was a time around the early 2000s and maybe 2001 or sometime in that era. Maybe it was 2002, I suppose. But maybe we did release O2 already at that point. But we were kind of rolling at that point. And whatever those reasons be, and yes, it was a lot of friends. We had a lot of good looking women at our shows, which brought a lot of dudes. Mm-hmm. Whatever it all is, we were rolling at that time, and we had probably 1,000 people in there that night. So it was our first song of the night. And I'll tell you what, man, anybody who's ever done this on stage, and I know it's less now because people don't do it and the clubs don't support it anymore, but there is an adrenaline and an energy that when you're playing and you got 1,000 people out there that are there for you, and they're mashed up against the stage, and that boom goes off, and you're just like boom, and the flames and everything, there is a rush of adrenaline that is just unexplainable. And it's what would always just draw me back. And it's the music first and foremost, and the music has always been done kind of selfishly for us. I hate to say that's kind of a selfish way to look at it, but we were always doing it for us. Now I appreciate and I love people that have gravitated and enjoy it, and they have spent their time and money and have come out in snowstorms to come see us, and have gotten DWIs after they've left the show and to come see. I mean, but in the reality, it's always been kind of for me and for us, and it feels like a need. If I suppose, if I wasn't playing music, maybe I would be a murderer. I don't know. It's always filled that void in me, and I have been an angry person my life.
Why drums specifically?
Drums are obviously
the thing in the video.
Yeah, so drums are obviously very physical. There's and not only that, but me as a drummer, I'm not very quiet or timid. Man, people know, man. I have a certain way that I care about things that is generally misunderstood, and a lot of the times by my band members and people that I love dearly. I have, just like a lot of us do, we always treat the people that are closest to us horribly at times. at times it's because we care. My grandpa would always tell me, well, I only yell at you because I love you. And I get it. It's true.
Right.
I mean, and there's
and I've maintained that with certain people
if I
too,
didn't care, you would never get the reaction out of me.
Yeah, you wouldn't give a fuck.
Right. And I would just be a dud like any other situation, but I've never been a dud. And I suppose anybody that's been around me, especially in a musical situation, realizes that I'm just not a dud.
No, you're a pain in the ass, but you're definitely not complacent.
I have a pain in the ass because I care about that music. I care about it deeply, and it's because of that emotional attachment to it. So, I mean, it kind of also what I was talking about here, what I was kind of getting to is, man, since March, so we lost our studio because they sold the building. Last March, not this previous, but the one before that.
That's the one above Station 4.
Yeah, and then we were down at we were below F5. Yeah, so we were below F5 for about a year after that, and then that was right down the road. Yeah, that's right down the road, and and then Wither the Tide right before this crap hit, we split ways, and that's for all kinds of reasons. And I love those boys so much, and I know they love me too, and it's good. Our paths will probably and most likely cross again, and maybe in a musical way at some point. Skywind for me, I will always be there until my arms fall off, and those dudes know that about me under any situation. So it kind of bums me out because I haven't touched my drums in 6 months, but then that also leads to where I have been, and as you know, my love for music has now has moved on to me playing bass. And I have started playing bass about 2 years ago. And for the first year that I bought my bass, now I'm a southpaw, left-handed. So that means like I can't really borrow anybody else's stuff. I had to have my own, so I had to go out. I bought a nice Schecter. It was like $700, and it sat there hanging on my wall for about a year. And then my guitar player, Maddie from Wither the Tide, was like, well, dude, if you're going to, you ever want to get anywhere, you got to put your hands on it. And that kind of like occurred to me, and I started taking it down, and then I started becoming so interested in it. And it kind of all explains it for a bigger purpose, because I didn't see this stuff coming exactly like it was coming. I didn't know that I was basically going to be spending the first 2.5 hours of every morning of my day playing bass. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I've been doing it for a while. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I am progressing quite well, in my opinion. And
why are you?
And I love it.
But why are you putting in 2.5 hours every day?
Well, because I keep on adding songs for one, and all the songs that I've been adding.
Why do you keep adding songs?
Because I keep on learning more. I keep on learning more, and I keep on playing. I play the same songs in the same order every day, but I keep on adding to this list. Right. And it's just, and these are songs that I don't need to learn because I already know them. I grew up with them. It's, I'm playing stuff. So
when you say them, you're saying you like, you know how the song goes in your head.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been doing a lot of.
So you're not surprised by any changes. Like, for example, my music, when I throw my shit at you, you're
so we talked about this, and yes, I have not actually,
it makes it a lot harder to write your original music, because you're learning songs as you're writing them, versus what you're doing now. You're learning how to play songs you already know in your head.
That's right. So I had, I admittedly and told you, and I feel kind of bad about it, but not too bad. Like, I haven't actually practiced like the songs.
Well, and I already warned you. Being that you're a noob at the instrument, you're still probably going to end up playing the parts that Dalton and I write for the bass. And that's probably what you're, unless you
that's what I'm doing right now.
Right, exactly. And unless you write something mind-blowing, like, it's just not the most realistic thing to ask you to come into this band in this style with these dudes playing these instruments and expect you to hold par. It would be unfair. But if you can get your chops up, which, if people don't know what we mean by chops, we're talking your physical ability to play your instrument. We will write the bass parts, and you just have to learn how to play them. And as long as you can play them, you're
because
fine.
If the parts are the parts, that's the parts that belong there. I don't ever have issues with parts, because if they belong there, I'm not going to go write an adverse bass line just because I need it to be like mine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. Right. If it belongs, it belongs. Just like how Wally was explaining to you when you guys were doing his podcast about the Sleeping Giants record and about how our lives have moved apart.
Yep.
So he took it upon himself with technology to basically write that album. And then I would come in and be like, okay, we can deal with this, can deal with that. I might switch this up a little bit here or whatever, but I always honor that part if I feel it and I believe in it. And for the most part, like while I explained, you guys talked, him and I have been working together for so long at this point. It's the yin and yang. We know what to expect for each other. We know where those changes are going to occur. Yes, back in the day, Wally used to come into the room and be like, dude, I came up with this last night, and it was with an acoustic guitar. And he would just show us with an acoustic. And then my role was always kind of be like, this is how we're going to turn this into a rock song.
Right.
And then, but those things, we did relatively separate on how we were working together, which does make me sad. I miss our young life when we used to do that. I miss those days, but life moves on, man. We got children, like that's kind of the thing that's about like children and whatnot. Like until recently, my kids didn't give two rips about who I was, what I've done, which isn't much, Like I've done some cool things here in the local scene and whatnot. We had some cool opportunities. You
guys did some really cool national shit too.
We have done some cool stuff, but
you did a lot of touring, dude, and you played with a lot of big acts.
Maybe some, but I don't know what a lot is.
You've done a lot more than a lot of people from this town. Let me put it that way.
Well, there's
very few acts.
I don't spend a whole lot of my time on that.
There's very few acts that are in the rock realm that have done more than you, and I could probably count them on one hand. Collective Soul, American Head Charge, and Prince,
Quiet Drive. There's other bands. There's some other,
Quiet Drive did pretty well actually. Now that I think about it, so 4.
But the thing
4.
is,
and now maybe you could throw in like a Trampled by Turtles and some of those other bands.
Yeah, right.
But we're talking early 2000s.
No,
so
back then we,
you guys did some shit. It's cool. You're being humble about it. I'll not be humble for you. You guys did a lot more than
it came
the vast
down
majority of
to
us.
what you and Jason were talking about in his interview. Now, granted, I've already told you this, dude. I've watched. I'm like your biggest fan. I've been subscribed since like the first.
That's
day,
hilarious. Thanks.
And
I appreciate it.
And
that's hilarious because I didn't think anybody would watch this shit for a long time.
As we all know, folks, and anybody who's watching this already, I mean, Jared and I've known him for some time, man. This dude's a firecracker, man, and I have some great confidence in you, man. I love you. There is nobody. You have made me laugh harder in situations than I have laughed. Like that one time we were backstage and we were like smoking and whatnot, and the security came back. Remember?
Where were we?
We were at the place on Route 47, where GB Lighthouse is.
Fucking yes. Okay, tell that story because
I don't know if I remember it completely correctly, but we were back there smoking, and then the security dude came up into the circle and stood there like in the circle with us for like a while, right? Like a minute or two, a minute. And then we were just sitting there smoking. And then after like a minute or two went by, then he wanted to like kick you out.
Yeah. So basically we were smoking and he had watched everybody in the circle hit it. And then it came to me and I took a puff and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" And he grabs me and he's like, "You're out of here."
Well, announce that you're security or something. Don't just stand there in the circle. Didn't we like try to pass it to him or something?
I don't remember. It was just such a fucking scenario. And I just remember like somehow like never actually leaving because I pulled some version.
Why would you leave?
I pulled some version of like, "Don't you know who I am?" Like one of those moments, right? I was like, no, here's what it was. I was walking out with the guy and I was like, "Listen, man," I was like, "I'm not trying to be a dick, dude, but like you clearly don't know who I am. And like, you don't want to be the guy that kicks me out tonight."
Yeah, put it on him, right?
I was like, "For real, bro, like you do not want to be the guy that kicks me out tonight." Like, in fact, I was getting ready to leave anyways. Let me just say goodbye to a couple people and I'll just dip out, dude. I'm not trying to cause you any trouble, but like, trust me, bro, you don't want to be, because he was trying to like put his hands on me and force me out. And I was like, "Dude, trust me, you don't want to be the guy that kicks me out this way tonight. Like, you're going to be held accountable as the asshole. Because trust me, all of those bands are going to be like, what the fuck
It was like the end of the night, though. Anyways,
It was towards the end of the night. And here's the thing: is like I was like, I'm gonna say goodbye to a few people here, and then I'm just gonna dip out anyways, dude. I got distracted. Somebody handed me a beer, and they're like, "It's 2 for 1s. It's last call. I can't drink 2." And they handed me a beer, and I was like, "Well, now I can't just walk out the door with a beer." So I finished it, and then literally ended up backstage again. And dude's like, "All right, that's it. You're out of here." And then I was like, "Fuck you, man. I'm leaving anyways," because it really was the end of the night. And then slam my beer. The best part was I forgot my fucking keys back there. So I was stuck in that parking lot all fucking night. Me and Chris Emery went back to my place and hung out. And my wife drove me back in the morning to go get my keys, which were sitting right there the whole fucking time, dude. It was hilarious.
So I guess, what I was saying, man,
I don't remember.
So, bro, I
funny about
just gotta tell you. I
situation,
mean, dude, I've known you for a while, and I love you, bro. And I do seriously wish you the best. And I do think that you have gotten yourself into that niche that you didn't know that you were supposed to do. And I really have some great feelings for you and for what you're doing here. And I'm excited for your future. And I'm
well, thanks,
honestly,
man.
I'm honored to be here and a part of this. So early and
I'm honored
in this
to have
career
you,
and
dude.
whatnot, and and just and we just wish you the best, dude. I really wish you the best. And,
Well, thanks, man.
especially time, and I do, and all my friends out there and stuff, and anybody too. I I'm obviously not on Facebook. I never have been. I'm not on social media. I don't. And I've mentioned this before. The people that have my phone number, there's a reason you have it, and the people that don't, there's a reason for that too. And man, call me. That's how I work. I don't work on Facebook. I work on, and everybody knows my phone number. It's the simplest phone number in the world. And they call me, and I miss you guys out there, and I miss my band members. And I never thought that I'd play music through every stage of my life, and then the apocalypse hit, and then everybody just kind of, and I know part of that too is because we can't really book shows and whatnot, and I have my thoughts and opinions about that too, and in my heart, and what it tells me is and I know people are going to disagree with this, and you probably are as well, but just let me get my thoughts out about it. My heart, I do feel like it's the end. I do not believe that we're going back to normal. I don't believe that I'm going to be playing any more shows. Maybe that will be for some. I believe that most people are going to be able to go back to their life, but for the things that I believe in, and for the things that I will not do for myself and for my children and my wife, I'm probably not going to be able to participate. And it's unfortunate. That day is not here today, so that's why I tell my band members and stuff, hey, you want to get it done? Then let's do it now before the next phase comes, before they really put an end to this. And like I said, I think most people's lives are going to be able to go back to normal because you probably, you're probably going to accept the next phase, and that's going to be the vaccine, and then eventually the microchip for you. But
I don't know about that vaccine shit, man. Like I'm not
just
an
saying,
anti-vaxxer, but I don't know. If
I'm not an anti-vax, but the thing is, it's got to be by my choice, and I've always never been great with authority. But as soon as you kind of tell me I have to do something, or you're gonna, I don't actually believe that anybody's gonna come and kick in my door and put a shot in my butt, but I do think that they're gonna squeeze me out of society, and I'm not going to be able to play reindeer games anymore because I'm not going to participate in in whatever it is, so
they are, dude, they're talking about some crazy shit out there.
So
man.
Unfortunately, it sucks bad because it's been my life for so long. I almost don't know what else. I'm not making excuses, but I never got myself into another career. I didn't go to college, I didn't, and I honestly don't know what great skills I have. I actually know how to do a lot of stuff. If I get when I worked at my job and I started working with the table saws and I started building some stuff, sure. But nobody ever calls me. I tell this to my wife, nobody ever calls me unless they needed a drummer, right? And then my phone rings, right? I mean, or whatnot. And now these days, since we're not out playing and there's no foreseeable that's ever going to happen, I guess people aren't going to call me. So, you know,
dude,
so sad, I guess.
It's funny you say that because the podcast has been kind of huge for me for maintaining just my relationship with the outside world, so to speak. Like, not my relationships with individuals, because I talk to them anyways, but I kind of fall off the map from time to time too, and I'll get so focused on working on the house and, like, you know, like I said, preparing for the apocalypse and, you know, making sure everything, my game plan's tight, all that. Man, if I didn't have the podcast right now without a day job to go to, I don't know that I'd be talking to anybody.
I don't have a day job right now because in the bigger part of the story,
neither do I. That's what I'm saying.
Hunting,
but I got the podcast, so
right?
That's given me some semblance of focus and purpose on a day-to-day basis instead of just planning for this inevitable fucking. Because, dude, here's the thing: is like I may not be as far down the rabbit hole as you on like the level of disaster that I think is coming, but I will tell you this with 100% confidence is that shit is gonna absolutely 100% hit the fucking fan come this fall, and it doesn't matter who wins.
And who can save us from that? Trump?
No, I mean, it's not. There is no
Q?
saving us from it.
You know,
there's no saving us from it. It's just here's the thing: is this also isn't new. You know, like, dude, World War I, World War II, Vietnam, 9/11, like
Earth Day.
They
it's all part of it.
It's none of it's new, man. We've been through this as a society, and it's just. It coincidentally usually happens right after the birth of a brand new technology where information is spread at a much faster rate or at a more politicized rate. So whether you look back at like the printing press and all of a sudden newspapers came out and you could just write an article and influence millions of people. That had never been done before. Chaos ensued shortly thereafter. It took about 20 to 30 years before people finally fucking figured out how to digest this new technology without losing their minds. Then all of a sudden it's the fucking radio. Radio does the same thing. Boom, World War I breaks out. Then TV comes out. Boom, World War II breaks out. You see where I'm going with this? Like new technologies, Cold War, completely different animal. But then all of a sudden, boom, early 90s, internet comes out. It takes what? When I say comes out, I meant it's released to the public, because the internet was around since like the 50s or 60s or something for the government and then eventually academia. But internet gets released to the public in the early 90s. Takes 10 years. Boom. Now we're at war with fucking terrorists across the globe forever. Now, not only do we have a new way of communicating by what I'm talking about, the internet, but then social media came out. So now, not only do you have access to any information you want, you're being force-fed bullshit information.
Yeah. We're dealing with terrorists in our own country right now. You know, so, you know.
It's basically what I'm saying is like, this is actually not new. No, especially in this country. We've been through this multiple times. It's just another generation of people, young people usually, mostly young people, who just have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Like, I hear this mantra going around, well, you know, we're okay with you looting the Targets and the Walmarts and shit like that because they have insurance. And it's like,
that's not how insurance works.
Insurance doesn't cover rioting and looting.
Right.
So no, that's you're
apparently that's supposed to be reparations.
Right. I've heard this. Actually. This is our form of reparations. Well, here's the thing.
Well, good. Like, then you got what you're
fine,
done. Then
you got your $800 worth of shit that you could carry in a cart out of Target, but now you also just took 30 jobs out of that community because insurance won't cover Target for the $2 million worth of damage you just did in South Minneapolis, and now they're closing down the store. They're not reopening it.
Nobody here has ever been a slave master, and nobody here has ever been a slave. That's the truth.
I mean, not only that, we were also part of the Underground Railroad, so the whole thing's kind of bullshit.
Go and track down the slave masters, and then
we do have racist people here, but we've not ever been a state.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how many times I get called the N-bomb a night when I'm playing Call of Duty by some freaking millennial who calls me the N-bomb like 90 times. Yeah. So, and I'm the racist one. You just called me the N-bomb 90 times.
So you play Call of Duty?
Yeah, that's actually.
Are you on Xbox or?
That's one of my guilty pleasures. I play PlayStation, and what's really messed up about this, I actually don't play that much. I play maybe 1 or 2 nights a week, maybe 3, and my routine is I get up like in the middle of the night, I like take a power nap at like 10 o'clock, and then I get up at like 2 in the morning.
Really?
Right? So,
And you play for a couple
and
hours.
I play
and then
till
go back
about
to sleep?
6, and then I go to play bass after that.
Ah.
That's my routine because my only time to actually get some time alone, and my children, whatever, and get some time is at night and in the morning. Good. So like that's why I play bass in the morning. But what amazes me, now I'm not even saying nothing. I don't play this game that often, but like lately, especially, and probably for a little while, I've just been like smoking these fools. Like I don't even like I play domination and I play kill confirmed, and I play hardcore. So that means like there's no HUD. There's no.
I used to do a lot of that shit, dude. And you know why I stopped playing Call of Duty? I'll tell you what.
It's horrible, dude. It's horrible for my soul.
Dude, here's why. Honesty. I'll tell you why I stopped playing Call of Duty.
But that new one that they put out right now is like real. It's like real. And the situations that put us, like we're fighting over there in London.
Dude, let me tell you why I stopped playing Call of Duty. Here's why I stopped. Because if I could have, I would have reached through my headset and strangled an 11-year-old kid to death.
Right. I don't let him affect me like that.
And I mean just like broke his fucking neck like Jeffrey Epstein style. You know what I mean? Like bad, dude. And here's what happened. I happened to have just moved back home with my parents. Cheers. I'm sipping. I'm not doing shots.
Cheers out there in the world.
So, ooh, I can't do a whole shot of that shit. It's too rich. So I happened to have moved back home with my parents. I happened to be given the room in the basement. I happened to have been unemployed. And this fucking 11-year-old was mopping the floor with me. And he had one of those squeaker ass fucking annoying voices. And he's like, fuck you. You're probably some fucking loser living in his mom's
He's probably
basement,
never seen one of these.
and you don't even have a job. And I literally, dude, I was sitting there and this immense amount of rage came over me. So I took off my headset real gently like this. I set that shit down. I powered off my fucking Xbox. I set my controller down and I walked away and have never played Call of Duty again. Because again, if I could have, I would have murdered that kid.
It's crazy, man. I will say, like, Call of Duty for me, I used to play a lot of, it's horrible, but I used to play a lot of Grand Theft. I used to play a lot of sports games back
GTA.
in the day.
RDR, you play any Red Dead?
I played the first. Or
the new. You got to get the new one.
I know,
you got to get the new one.
And I probably won't, but I do have the first one, right?
The new one,
or maybe it's the second one, whatever you call it, Red Dead Redemption. I know, but I'm just saying I'd play it. But my whole thing is like the thing about Call of Duty that drew me in. A buddy of mine at work once told me, "Hey, dude, you should go buy this Black Ops." I was like, "Dude, I'm just not into those kind of games. I'm not into first person. I'm just not into it." I used to play like Resident Evil and a lot of third person.
Sure.
Like horror.
Right.
And then I bought that Black Ops, and the first match that I ever got into online, and then I kind of realized like everybody else was real too.
Right.
It just something flipped in me because it just drew me in so much that I was able to affect other people emotionally, and they could affect me emotionally based on what was happening in this game. And ever since then, I've pretty much bought and played everyone since then. This current one that's out right now, the Modern Warfare, in my opinion, is the best one they've ever put out. It just works the best. It feels like it's like frickin' training for like the real thing. And when I do bring some of my weapons to the range and whatnot, the little AUG it's very similar to my style, at least of how I would approach.
Right.
And it's kind of, man, it's crazy. But what's crazy is that I get on there and, man, I haven't been doing too bad, but I don't play that often. But man, what some of these people talk about on there and whatnot, I don't talk very often, but good grief, man. Like you called me the N-bomb 90 times.
Right.
And I
get called fag a lot on there. I get called fag.
And then you're going to accuse me of perpetuating this nonsense and this nonsense narrative and bullcrap culture that you've been sold, you know, like it's just so childish. Like you sound like a broken record, dude. And then when I call you out on it, you get mad.
Right.
You know, or try.
Well,
you
my
know,
favorite
like,
part.
I called you out on it, bro. Like, and now you got mad, and then you called it. It's like,
here's my favorite part, dude.
You know,
is like we get called that shit in live chat on the regular, right?
Why?
But I'll lose a Madden game to somebody online, and my buddy Anwar, if he actually listens to this entire podcast, he's gonna be like, motherfucker, that's. Because he tells me this story all the time, and I've experienced it. So we get called that hateful shit. You'll get called the N-word. You'll get called faggot. You'll get called all kinds of shit online.
It must not be hateful. It's in every rap song like 90 billion times.
But if I lose a Madden football game or a Call of Duty match or any of those things or a Rocket League game, whatever, and I text message through Xbox, I'm like, man, you're a dirty ass little bitch. I'll get fucking banned from chat for like 30 days. And it's like, I called a dude a dirty bitch, and that's bannable, but these motherfuckers can verbally say everything they want, and you can report them all day long, and
that's why
nothing
I
happens.
I don't talk a lot. And, you know, the thing
That's why I quit playing those style games. I don't play a game where I can hear the other person talk shit.
Well,
I don't do it anymore.
I still like to hear it, and this goes kind of on another thing off the subject of some degree, but, you know, like I said before, I'm subscribed to about 30 channels on YouTube. They're channels that I really like a lot and whatnot. And one of my favorite things to do while I'm into some of my research and whatnot, I love reading comments. I love reading comments from other people because, for one, it gets you into other like parts of research and whatnot that you might not have gotten into, and whether it's a true or false, you might get into it and check some stuff out. And not only that, what it also occurs to me is that when I feel alone in this world, and I've argued with all my friends and maybe my wife or my mom, and everybody's like, you know, freaking, you know, they just not able to talk about what I'm talking about. It reminds me that there are other people out there, and I'm not alone on it. And the other people that took their time to do their research led them to the same spot. And right or wrong or indifferent, it feels good to not be alone in the mental part of that, you know. And that's kind of, you know, that's what I'm saying. And I do feel kind of alone, like at home. I'm like rocking the bass. I'm like rocking the bass right now in
I'm rocking
my bass right now in my basement. And you know how I do it, dude. And this is the same way I've approached drums my whole life. It doesn't matter if there's two people there or 2,000.
Dude,
I approach it the same way. There's nobody down in there, but I still play that thing like there's 2,000 people there.
Right.
And that's always been my approach. So you're right, dude. By choosing me to even play that instrument and be a part of what you got going on without actually ever hearing me play the bass is a wise and good decision, because I am going to bring it, dude.
Well,
I am going to bring it.
Exactly.
You know,
and I know
like,
you're just psychotic enough to pull it off.
Oh, dude, we're going to do it.
Like the confidence I have in you.
If the world gives me a chance. I told Angel, I don't even know if I'm ever going to be able to get a job again. So the thing about what I was saying before about this hunting, and we're kind of going back and forth, but it's important. While I was in the middle of my hunting experience, I was furloughed at that time, and my job called up one day or sent a text message to a bunch of people from my shop and my department saying, hey, we're having a phone call-in meeting tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. So call in and you put in this code, and then you get to be part of the meeting. I literally sent them a text back, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, but it said, hey, hopefully at 9:30 tomorrow morning, I'm going to be shooting turkey. So thanks for checking in on me, and I'll see you guys soon, and God bless. And then I went out hunting that day, and then I got home, and I called my buddy Curtis that I work with side by side, you know, every day, and he's like my best friend at work, and I love this dude. And I go, so Curtis, did you call in the meeting? He's like, yeah. I was like, so what they say is like, we all got fired. I was like, I knew it. I freaking knew it. And I'm so happy that I actually sent that message to them.
Right.
Basically saying, I ain't got time for your bull crap, because I'm going to be out turkey hunting. Let me know how it goes. Thanks for checking in on me, and God bless you. You know, so like, I just, even my response to that seemed appropriate because I was with that company for 10 years, which isn't as much as some, it's the same company that actually Chad works for. And he still works there, but he's kind of up. He's more up there.
He's the one that fired you?
No. No. I didn't go out with any hard feelings.
He's the guy who held the Zoom meeting. Everyone got fired.
I eventually went in after I had some time after turkey hunting season. I went in to collect my stuff, and I shook the guys' hands there that were there actually there trying to do my job. They said my job ended in my position, but they were still there trying to do my job. It doesn't matter. I digress from that, but I shook their hands and I thanked them for the opportunity for the 10 years. And I walked out and I know that God has a different plan for me, whatever that is. So, so I, continued with my turkey hunting season. Like I said, I actually got 0 turkeys, but that does not for me mean an unsuccessful season because the success was built on the knowledge and the time that I spent on nature. This is a crazy thing that occurred because
so you're obviously going to go this fall again.
I am, but I'm also going to be doing some deer hunting.
Are you going to be obsessively training all summer?
Am I going to be? Excuse me.
So you said something earlier that intrigued me, and it consumed you when you started. Why? What is it about it that
let's
consumed
say
you?
Just like when I met my wife for the first time, and anybody that knows my wife or doesn't, my wife Angel, when I met her for the first time, just like anybody would in a relationship, they just knock your socks off, right? And there is like a honeymoon period that you go through something new, just like you do with anything else. And this honeymoon period that I spent hunting was just so amazing.
Sure.
And I watched the change of season. When I was going out there at 4:30 in the morning, starting on April 15th was the beginning of the season. It was cold out. You go out there at 4:30 in the morning, it's like
I remember
28, 29, 30 degrees out. And the first few hours when you're sitting completely still, you are freezing. And I had some coffee with me and stuff in my backpack and whatnot. And you're just kind of waiting for that sun to come up and maybe start to warm up the day. And what was so crazy about that was I would go out to this spot out in Rosemount that's not too far from my house, and it's public land, so that means it's your land too, and you can go hunt it as well, just like anybody out there. It's our land. We pay for it. It's our land, and it was a very large piece of land, and I walked every piece of it over that 6 weeks period of time. But what would amaze me is I would be out there, and I wouldn't have my phone on me, and I wouldn't be watching coronavirus and BLM and all this crap that's going on, and just and I would be out there, and then I would go home, and then I would start getting into my videos, and I would start hearing about, oh, did you hear what happened today? And it's almost like when I would escape out there to hunt, I was actually entering the real world, and then I would come home and I would enter into this fake world that was being presented in front of us so we could all hate each other, and all the ammo's bought up now. We all went out and bought up all the ammo, so now we can just step out our front doors and shoot each other. I almost stepped back into the fake world, and I could not wait till the next morning to get my camo on, get strapped up, and get out to that land so I could enter back out into the real world.
Dude, I just seen a meme that summed that up so perfectly.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Back in the day, the internet used to be an escape from the real world, and now the real world is an escape from the internet.
Absolutely.
Dude,
go and live it yourself. Stop watching it on TV. Go live it. But now that's going to be harder, right? Because you're not even going to be allowed to go anywhere soon. You'll be really lucky if they let you off your street.
Dude, it's going to get wild in the fall, dude. It's going to get real wild in the fall. I'm not looking forward to it, but, I kind of showed you what I'm doing around here. I'm kind of building, a little fucking oasis for myself.
I love it, man. I love this.
Dude, and I've been kind of getting ready for it for a long time. I learned how to brew my own beer. I learned how to do a lot of things.
That'll be useful.
The whole point is to self-sustain. I don't want to rely on the system to decide whether I live or die. I am the master of my own fate. You know what I mean? I'm not fucking around with somebody else being to decide whether me and my potential, because Kate and I are still trying to start a family, right? Like with all this crazy shit,
Brave of you.
we still want to have a kid. I got to make sure that I can not only take care of Kate, but also that kid. So I got to be able to hunt. I already know how to fish. I can brew my own beer. I mean, I know a basic enough about most farming and gardening, so I can grow fruits and vegetables. You know, like, yeah, I'm not a fucking botanist.
Everybody should be doing it.
But like,
I did some vegetable growing this year
I
too.
hit up my grandma. I'm like, I need you to teach my wife how to can and preserve vegetables. Like, that's going to become a thing again here.
Depending on how you want to live.
Well,
Like,
and here's the craziest part. Like, shit's shutting down. It's getting harder and harder. And there's a lot of cities that are trying to outlaw fucking gathering rain. Like, Minneapolis encourages you to put out rain buckets. Some cities, it's illegal. In some cities, it's illegal for you to have a community garden. Minneapolis will let you do it on an entire lot, right? So there's certain cities where it's still cool, but there's a lot of cities that don't want you gardening in your backyard. They don't want you raising chickens in your backyard. They don't want you having a fucking vacant lot that's a community garden that everybody goes and tills together. Like, there's a lot of fucking crazy shit where the government is outwardly trying to prevent you from self-sustaining, and then they're shutting down the system that's supposed to sustain us.
Well, aren't there like Monsanto vegetables out there and seeds that actually grow vegetables that don't produce more seeds?
Yep, they do that as well.
So, that's a problem.
Which is cool if you're into, like, seedless grapes and seedless watermelon and
It's
seedless
great
bananas.
until you try to grow your own using the same.
Right, that's the thing, is like most people don't know, like, everything we know is fucking here. So do this. Come here. Give it to me. Here, spit it my way. No, just give it to me. Here. Yeah, it's this one right here. So boom, and then boom, and I'm just tightening this back up. So now when you come forward, it's tighter again. Yeah, seedless. What was I saying? Bananas. Most people don't know, but like, the banana is a genetically modified piece of fruit to not have seeds in it.
I'm sure it all is at this point.
I mean, a lot of it is. The seedless grape, the seedless watermelon, all of these things are genetically modified to be that way. So GMOs aren't 100% bad all the time. Sometimes they're just cool little things that fucking prevent you from chipping teeth, but then they start getting into monocropping, which is like they develop a single strain of wheat that's supposed to be able to withstand any climate, any pest, any of this other shit, which sounds great until you realize, like, certain human beings have evolved to eat certain foods that were in their regions, and that took hundreds of thousands of years of random mutations and evolution in order for us. So, like, that's why you see fucking Italians being able to eat mass amounts of pasta without being obese. You can see, like, fucking traditional Asian cultures eating a lot of rice without being obese, right? But then you take fucking somebody like the Sicilians, who are part African, they're part Moor. They eat the same exact diet as the northern Italians, and they have massive obesity problems. Well, because Africans didn't evolve to eat fucking wheat. And it's not they didn't evolve to eat wheat. That's not really how it works. I'm dumbing this down just to make the point. But you see what I'm saying, right? Like, fucking the Irish, you know what I mean? They evolved to eat a shit ton of potatoes, just like the Russians. So they can intake massive amounts of carbs. Like, yeah, I get it. Fucking Irish people are a little portly, but they're not obese traditionally. You know what I mean? Like, they evolved and learned, their bodies developed in order to be able to take in that specific type of food. Now you start monocropping that with something that's genetically modified to survive on another continent, and you just start mass producing and mass feeding that shit to people with all the other processed shit that GMOs are responsible for. And human beings are suddenly having all kinds of fucking issues, dude. Whether it's fucking diabetes or fucking obesity.
You got the diabetes?
Dude, there's a million fucking things, dude. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So GMOs aren't all bad, but to be honest, like, they're also, like, having way, way more unintended consequences. They're definitely not the fucking puritanical fucking everything's all good and the savior of all problems. It just doesn't work like that, dude. Like we need different strains of wheat, because here's the other thing is if some pesticide, or I shouldn't say pesticide, if some sort of disease or even pest did figure out how to take out the monocrop, and that's the only crop across the entire fucking globe, then all the wheat is dead. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, again, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I get it, man.
The road to hell.
The monocropping thing seems great, but you want diversity of species when it comes to farming. You don't want to be growing one crop everywhere, because then you've got, again, I get it. It's genetically modified to survive all these pests and all these diseases, right? Until there's a new one that shows up that has figured out or evolved or mutated in a way that completely decimates the monocrop of wheat, and now the entire world's wheat supply is gone, just like that, because you got rid of all the other strains of wheat. And if you would have let these other things naturally out there, some of them probably would have survived. Probably.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just saying, man, like the conspiracy shit, it sounds nuts, but at the same time, it's like, it's only nuts until it's not. And I know how easy it is to say that, but like, how many conspiracies do we need to go through that were literally laughed at and called bullshit? You were told you were paranoid, and now we know they're true. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Like my mom and I, right? She's my mom. I honor her. Most respectable. I love her to death, right?
Still alive?
And we don't see quite eye to eye on some things and whatnot, and she accuses me of being a conspiracy theorist, which I openly say I absolutely am, because I don't believe in coincidence. I'm not a coincidence theorist like I think most people. But and then I kind of like just lightly brought up, I was like, well, this whole thing with like Trump colluding with Russia or whatnot, and then it goes to like some court system that we in our tax dollars paid like a tons of money for, to have them try to figure it out, right? At this point, didn't they find that, whether it's true or not, or whatever the hell, because
I don't know.
I think the dudes in the whatever it is,
I couldn't figure out what the fuck the truth was.
I'm just saying, because I really didn't follow it, because I'm not really into that. But what I'm saying is, I was like, well, Mom, doesn't that make you kind of a conspiracy theorist because they found it to not be true or whatever, right? And she's, you're accusing me of being one, but you're kind of being one yourself if they kind of broke that down.
That's a good point. I got a buddy like that.
Doesn't that make you a conspiracy theorist? Like,
I got a couple buddies that wholeheartedly still believe with 100% certainty that he colluded with Russia, or they meddled to help get him elected or some shit. And you're right. Like, technically, they didn't find any.
I just don't care.
Undeniable proof. And even if they did, he didn't get voted out, and they still believe. And so
I don't care,
technically
because
is a conspiracy, though. You're kind of right.
I just don't care, because I think he's in the club just like the rest of them. They're all in the club. It's the same club. And you do your own research, and you're going to start to understand that there's a club.
Do you think, because I kind of put him in the same boat as Obama. I look at him and Obama the same way, and people say I'm crazy for that, but I'll break this down. Okay, so Barack Obama did the same thing that Donald Trump did, but Barack did it first. Both of them violated the U.S. Constitution by murdering an American citizen on foreign soil via drone strike without due process. No fucking right to trial, no right to representation, no right to confront their accusers, all the things that a naturally born American citizen has the inalienable right to. Barack Obama murdered some kid named Anwar something with a drone bombing, right? Violation of the U.S. Constitution, one of the worst things an American president has ever done. Donald Trump turned around and did the exact same thing to the same guy's little sister. Just did it, right? I think it was in 2018. So both of these guys have done the exact same heinous violation of the U.S. Constitution. That's not my point. Where I'm going with this is the people elected the same guy twice without realizing it. They both times, with Barack Obama and Donald Trump, elected an outsider with very little experience in politics, right? Barack Obama had a little bit as a senator. Donald Trump had a little bit when it comes to working with politicians on business shit.
He's a good actor.
Here's the point. Both times the American people showed, regardless of party affiliation, so Democrats and Republicans, 2 consecutive elections, voted showing they were sick of status quo. They were sick of the normal politicians' bullshit. And so once we fucking elected a charismatic black dude who had, you know, a young junior senator, and the second time we elected an even more outsider. Here's what I think, because I brought the similarity of them both violating the Constitution. I wholeheartedly believe that a lot of these people, not Joe Biden, because he's just been around for too long. He was vice president, you know what I mean? He's already in the club for sure. But I think you're right. I think Trump is in the club, and I think Barack ended up in the club, and I think JFK was the last president who refused to join the club, and he paid his life for it. And I think something happens now when you become president where they're like, okay, sit down, motherfucker. Now we're going to tell you how it's really done.
Well, maybe,
now
but
we're going to tell
I
you
just don't
what's
even
really
think you
what.
get to even be in that position unless you're already in the club to begin
I don't think
with.
so, man. I think the vote still counts, but when you get in there, they're like, listen, motherfucker, we don't care if you're the president. This is how it really goes.
I just don't understand how the vote counts, and my only thing about that is, like, if you believe in the things that I believe in, I don't think they would leave it up to chance. I don't think they would leave it up to
but that's why it doesn't matter.
Choice,
but you're
know?
right. But that's
Like,
what I'm saying. So now they figured out, because here's a smart play, right? If you really have this power and this ability to do shit, it doesn't matter who the president is. You let the people have their vote and you let them have their say because it keeps them complacent.
Because
right?
we have to accept it.
And then
it's
once the fuck
or?
it's just whoever we elect. Then you sit him down in that room after his election. You show him the fucking JFK assassination. You show him the aliens.
Right?
You show him all the other crazy, wild fucking shit, and you go, listen, motherfucker. It doesn't matter what you campaigned on. Here's what's really going on. And whether it's deceptive and evil and conspiracy ridden, or it's just these guys going, oh, wow, okay, I get it. There is a potentially less nefarious explanation for this, Rich, which is they fucking get elected and they realize none of that shit works. This is the way we got to get shit done. Or the nefarious example is they get behind that closed door and the elites, whoever it is, the military industrial complex, right? The family, quote unquote, from that documentary, whoever you want to throw in this title, they sit the president down and they go, look, motherfucker, this is what's really going on. And this is what you're going to do, because it doesn't matter whether you have Secret Service or not. We can get to you. We can get to everybody. And then they go, okay. And they play the game, and they try to squeeze in some good things that they believe in here and there, some bills to try to like actually do some progress so they can fucking die with a not completely guilty conscience. But whether they're bought or they're in the club beforehand, I'm not 100% all of them are. I think Joe Biden was. I think George Bush was. I think Al Gore was. I think John Kerry was. I think a lot of those presidents were in the club, or candidates, I should say, were in the club.
Half
before
of our
they
U.S.
became.
presidents are notably in the club openly.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But not all of them. But no, not all of them. And a lot of the losers weren't in the club. But lately, we've seen an influx of presidents, 2 in a row, that I don't think were in the club before they got elected, but they joined the club, not even by will, by force. Like, listen, we get it, Barack. You want to do the hope you can believe in. We're going to give you the fucking healthcare thing. Pass your little Obamacare so you can have your legacy. But you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. Remember when he campaigned on he was going to fucking protect whistleblowers? And then not only did he not protect whistleblowers, he actually passed a bill that fucking allowed corporations to go after whistleblowers. So he did the opposite of what he campaigned on.
Who are these whistleblowers?
Like for example, the slaughterhouses, the fucking Edward Snowdens, like whistleblowers, people that are fucking blowing the whistle on heinous law-breaking corporations or government entities. Not only did he not protect them, he actually went after them. So that he literally did 180 degrees from what he campaigned on. That can only happen if you realize you don't actually have any power once you become president. That's the only way I can rationally, because I try to go with the simplest explanation, right? Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is that Barack Obama and Donald Trump were like genuinely
our brothers,
not in the fucking club. And once they got elected, they were sat down with the listen motherfucker speech. And I think it'll, whatever they do, I think it scares you to your core. Like, it could be aliens. Like, it could be that simple. Like, there really are aliens. The whole fucking thing's been true. They fucking have the ability to cloak and walk amongst us. They're regularly raping us and fucking us. They're hunting us. We were talking about hunting. You got to get in the mind of a turkey, right? I mean, fuck, dude, that's how I do it if I were an alien. You know what I mean? You fucking figure out how to get in, seduce people, fucking get them to try to fuck like we were talking about with the birds. Like, you fucking, all you got to do is get in there and act like a fucking trashy whore. Like, hey, baby, I'll let you fuck my ass down at the bus station. It might be they live.
I mean, it really might be.
Who knows?
They were trying to tell us something there. I mean,
who knows? I mean, they just admitted they fucking have some crazy shit, you know? Like, the Pentagon's released a few different videos over the last few years fucking talking about UFOs.
Well,
they've never admitted to any of that before.
The alien deception is coming, that's for sure.
Or it's been real the whole time. And all things are possible. It's 2020, bro. We got murder hornets. We got fucking lawn-destroying beetles in Minnesota for the first time. We got it all, man.
Yeah, the thing is all I want to do is rock.
That's all I want to do. I just want to rock, man.
So, but nobody wants to rock. And
I just want to rock.
That's kind of what I've been saying. And, you know, like, people want to rock, but I guess they just don't want to rock with me. That's unfortunate. I like to rock.
Here's what I've noticed. You know, I've noticed people are afraid to do anything right now.
Like, why? Well, actually, people should be afraid, because if you listen to that fear porn all day long, you should be freaking petrified is what you should be, because, yeah, all you do is listen to fear porn, then you should be petrified. I tell my mom straight up.
Well, I'm going to be out there mowing lawns pretty fucking soon,
she starts feeling the way that she's feeling. I tell my mom straight up, throw that freaking thing in the ocean. Throw that, you know, my mom.
Here's the thing, dude, is people are panicking right now. And, like, I'm going to be out there mowing lawns pretty fucking soon, dude, because the unemployment thing ain't kicking back in. I'm not making enough unemployment now. There's not jobs.
I'm going surfing.
Whoever's telling you that there's jobs out there, there's not. Like, and there's not jobs for everyone. And I'm certainly not starting back over at $10 an hour.
Well,
because I didn't lose my job. My boss didn't mismanage her company.
Well, right now I'm faced with...
The government shut that shit down.
I'm faced with, like, the school thing. So, number one, your
kids are homeschooling or whatever?
I would have zero issues with removing my children from the public school system anyways, because, yeah, I don't mind the education. I don't mind the math and the science, but I don't like the agenda that comes along with it.
No,
so
I mean, but
I can do without it.
I get it. I get it.
But right now, so yeah, I'm at home with the kids anyways, and then when school starts up again, they're like, they want them to be on some hybrid system where they, like, stay home 3 days a week and then go to school. So, yeah, good luck me going to get a job and saying, hey,
right.
And by the way, you got to work on my schedule.
Yeah, and are they going to let you do 2 days out of 5 per school year less property taxes?
I want my property taxes. I want to be paid if I'm going to be homeschooling, and I might even homeschool a couple other kids around the neighborhood because their parents are in a tighter position than I am. I'm just straight up at home right now, but like other people still have their jobs.
I know this seems like common sense for most people, but there's a surprisingly large amount of people out there that don't understand. The public school system is not fucking free. It is directly funded by two things: your local property taxes and then federal tax dollars, which are taken out of your income taxes. So the shit's not free. And if the government isn't going to be providing the resource you're being taxed for, where is that money going?
Yeah, the thing is, and more importantly,
you know where it's going. I can tell you where it's going. It's going right back into the city coffers and the county coffers to prevent or to supplement the lack of income tax revenue and sales tax revenue because nobody has fucking jobs. You see what I'm saying? And that's because they shut it down.
And that's one aspect. But the other aspect of it for me is like, they're not teaching them anything useful. Like, I think there was a period of time where children actually learned something useful. You actually learned how to build maybe your own home or like how to like grow some vegetables. I think there was a period of time where people actually got to bring their like shotguns to school and learn how to like gun safety and shoot. I mean, I'm not saying that's like, you know, we're living in a different world, obviously, but like they're not teaching them anything useful. Like my son came home and like taught me how to do the floss dance. I could do without it. I don't need the floss dance. I don't, like, and my son's very smart. He's like a math genius. He's been reading for many years. Like he's good at this point. I don't even know, in my opinion, if it's the apocalypse and we're all going to die from this or whatever, then I should be so scared to send him there to begin with that I should just keep him out of there. And if it is the apocalypse, then what do you give? Why do you care if he's even educated at all? So let me get this straight. You want to kick my door in and then haul him off to a foster care because that would be better for him if I don't even want to even just educate him. He already is educated. And if you know how to do some math and you know how to read, you can go educate the rest of your life. And I got smarter friends that actually know how to do like practical things that you can do in life than sending him to public school and learn how to floss.
Right.
So like I actually don't mind, and since I'm actually not working right now, we've decided to keep him home full time. Right. And people are going, oh, this is going to make him antisocial. That's a myth. That is a myth. If your kids are like antisocial from the get-go, they're just antisocial. But my children have never been antisocial, and they're not going to have an issue with that. And I straight up told,
But homeschool kids definitely were a little weird.
I don't know if the thing is I think statistics show that homeschool kids advance quicker. Yeah, and whatnot, and
they definitely are noticeably more socially awkward.
Well, possibly, but maybe that's other people's kids. My children are very social. I'm not worried about it, and I'll actually take that chance to avoid the agenda that comes through with their education. Yeah, all their bullcrap agenda. We all know what it is, and they're trying to confuse the living snots out of them, and all this fake stuff that even science doesn't even align with. And you get to choose your gender, and you get to this and that and the other thing, and that is just that's not even scientifically even close to the truth. So I have major issues with them teaching my children false things. So I would rather keep them at home. And if this all goes away and we get to go back to normal and we get to go back to concerts and I get to go to Cub without people looking at me like I'm the enemy, and I get to go to, do all these things again, even though I can just say with confidence we're not going back to normal, but whatever. If it all does go back to normal, then you
are officially losing your mind.
I am losing my mind.
You do need to calm down and start meditating or praying or whatever it is that you got to do, because you are starting to go off the deep end a little bit.
I don't know if that's off the deep end. Why? Because I don't think things are going back to normal.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Well, let's find out. Let's see what happens. That's fine. And maybe it might go back to normal for a period of time, but there are plans for us, and they're not good, and that's the bottom line. And, unless you're in the club. So whatever. My only point is, like, I don't mind educating.
Here, hold on.
I don't mind educating my children. And yeah, I'm confident that if this world goes on and they're supposed to go to attain successful things, I think they'd be very successful.
I mean, we'll see, dude.
Education and
you teaching them any instruments?
My 4-year-old, yeah, actually, that's just it. So they last year at the end of the year, when I was at home being the dean of students of the University of Zasada, yeah, that's right. So Yep, I'm the dean of students at the U of Z. And last year, so the music teacher sent this homework assignment home, and I swear, dude, it was like ta ta ti ti ta, and I was like,
we're not doing that.
And it was just some other like bull crap. And I understand that that's some fundamentals to music. Yes, I agree, it is probably, but I put the kibosh on it immediately, and I said, look, if you want to learn how to play music and whatever, and now that you're under my care because it's the apocalypse and they've sent you home,
the apocalypse,
if you want to be serious about it, you are either going to go downstairs and sit behind the drum kit or sit behind the piano 20 minutes a day. And now that is required of my son. So whether he just sits there and stares at it or he sits there and actually gets something done, he's required to play it for 20 minutes a day.
Sure.
before video games get turned on, before this or that. We still,
Right.
there's still requirements. You still have to make your bed. You still have to brush your teeth and comb your hair, and you have to do these things, but you have to read a little bit, and you have to play a little bit of this instrument because that's a language all in itself. And
Wow.
and so I can actually play Queensryche Empire with my 8-year-old son, with him on drums and me on bass and singing, right? So I mean, like, he's making progress, and not like I'm trying to force my children into playing music, like especially in a band or anything. I just think that it comes naturally, and this generation of children is so much different of a degree than our generation when we were kids and how we took in music. I mean, I grew up on cassette tapes for the
Right.
most part, and the way that I had to take in music was song by song on an album from A side to B side. It was just too much of a pain in the butt to try to find the song you wanted to listen to. So you just took it all in. And now, like, the availability of even starting with CDs to MP3 to any way that means that people listen to it now. I mean, I work at times. I was working with some younger, like, kids and whatnot, and in their 20s and stuff. They couldn't listen to one song for like 40 seconds before they had to switch it. Like, it was just so annoying.
Dude, Dalton does that shit. Drives me fucking
I
nuts.
couldn't take it.
We had to take the power away from Dalton when him and me and Kevin are hanging out, and it's the three of us. Dalton's not allowed near the music. He can request songs, but he's not allowed to queue anything up or be we'll throw his shit up there. Like, just tell us what song you want to hear and we'll add it to the queue, because he will fucking full music ADD and he won't finish a song. We'll go a half hour, and a minute, as soon as like Kevin and I start vibing with it, he'll skip to the next song, and we're like, dude, what the fuck? And he's like, I gotta show you this, I gotta show you that. And eventually Kevin and I we were like, you don't get to do this anymore. You get to pick songs and we'll decide when they get played. It's so fucking bad, dude. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, I've become more and more of an album guy, where I like to find albums and ride that wave. Like, especially if I'm on the road, right? So on the road, we're all driving, half the guys are sleeping or fucking listening to audiobooks or whatever. But whoever's listening to the music, there's two options if I'm in control. We're either picking entire albums.
Well, the driver gets to choose.
Or, well, in my it's usually the co-pilot wherever I've been. Like, the driver's trying to drive.
Yeah, the co-pilot gets to, if I say, hey, throw this in, right?
Regardless, usually the music, the co-pilot is usually in control of the music, is what I'm getting at. So yes, the driver can pick it, whatever. The groups I've been in, everybody kind of is like, hey, let's listen to this. Hey, let's listen to this. And everybody usually gets like one pick or whatever, right? Per rotation. So we're either like throwing shit on shuffle and then throwing random songs in there, or when we came up, you had CDs. So I'm not putting in a CD, listening to one track, taking that out, putting in a new CD, listening to one. No, we weren't doing that. So pick a fucking album, and the album goes in, and then we listen to that album from front to back. That's also not done anymore. Everything is consumed by, I mean, I love iTunes. It makes it so fucking easy to find the music you love. But at the same time, like, it gives you direct access to only the song you want to hear. How many times have you... This is how I fall in love with bands. I hear a song, or this is how it used to be. I'd get a CD, whether somebody gave me the CD or I bought the CD because of a song on the radio. Whatever. Doesn't matter, right? You listen to that one song because that's the song you like. And then it always went into the next song. And then all of a sudden you found yourself liking that song a little bit too. And then it was the following one. And then sometimes you'd fucking, like on a CD, it'd be the song before that. You'd put it on. I don't like that song. You'd skip it. Ooh, I like this song. And that happened to be right before the song you liked. And then shortly, I mean, give it fucking a month.
Right.
And you love the whole album.
Exactly.
And you're like, God, I really like this band. And now you're open to checking out their next album. And so on and so forth. That's how I fell in love with Coheed and Cambria. Somebody gave me a book full of CDs. Literally, like a fucking encyclopedia. It was like, I don't know, 4 inches thick, one of those deals. The whole book, hundreds of CDs in there. And I found these 2 Coheed and Cambria CDs. And I checked them out. And this is the same way I found Misery Signals. Checked them out. And all of a sudden I found like one song off each album I really liked, so I kept listening to them and eventually fell in love with the entire album. And then over time, I'm like, I love these two bands. You know what I mean? That shit just doesn't happen anymore, because now you can just download the single, add it to your individual iTunes library, listen to just that mixed in with all your other shit, and you just move on with your life.
So yeah, I mean, like even musically, I would have to say there was a period of time there where I was really getting, I thought stuff was getting really stale, at least with me. And a lot of newer music and whatnot. I was getting into some heavier stuff for a while there. Bands like Fallujah, I don't know if you ever heard of them, but they're pretty heavy and technical, whatever. And then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, this is a couple years ago now, a band, and they're not really truly a full band, but a group out of the UK called Gunship hit me. And oh my God. No group like this had hit me in about 15 years.
Yeah.
And I listened to Gunship straight for about a year and a half on their first album. And just absolutely fell in love with it. And they're, I guess if you had to describe it, they're described as like a retro wave. So it's like 80s music, but done
Gunship.
And it's just done with some modern and analog instruments and whatnot. And man, if there's anybody out there that's looking for something new to listen to, even though it's not quite so new anymore, but yeah, check out Gunship. And if you grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and if you're into like new wave 80s music and sounds, this is the group, right? And yeah, so check it out. I was so deep into that you know, and that kind of paired along with me being with Wither the Tide as well. You know, Wither the Tide was always heavily influenced by electronic music, and Jeremy was big into Nine Inch Nails and Filter, and I always was pretty big into Filter for a long time there, and other groups. I've always been into electronic music and then mixed with rock. And Gunship is one of those groups that just does that so well. So they were such a refreshing group to come along for me when I just thought things were getting so stale for music for me. And, you know, for the most part, like I'm not really into a lot of new stuff. I keep on going back to all my old stuff, and yeah, there they are. And that was like my favorite group. And I got my wife Angel into that. And, you know, and anybody that knows Angel, you know, her two favorite groups on this planet are Fleetwood Mac and Hatebreed. And that's, you know, and that's where I actually never got into Hatebreed until it took years for her to finally get me into Hatebreed.
I don't think they can hear this.
And actually, I love Hatebreed as well. And if anybody's, you know, if there's any metalheads out there that have not gotten into Hatebreed even, I mean, they're pretty awesome band, and I think people really don't get the message.
Hatebreed?
Yeah, I don't think people really get the message of that group altogether. They, you know,
I'm not a fan.
Right? Well, dude, I mean, I'm sorry.
This is your
I'm
shit?
sorry for you. Well,
I don't think they can hear this, and if they can, I hope I don't get pulled.
Well, if they can't hear it, it's fine. But
I don't want them to hear it because I don't want to get pulled. But
right. Well,
but we can sit here and
anybody
talk about
look it up, Gunship.
Well, and they can see. I'm sharing the screen, so they can see what we're looking at right now. They just, hopefully, if I did this right, they can't hear anything.
They just, I don't know, the way that their albums sound and
that's kind of cool.
Music.
Have you checked out these guys? Fucking, this is the most recent thing I found. That like
the thing is, I don't really check out a whole lot of new stuff, and maybe that's bad. But you know, I kind of just get into my old, you know, my old
all right,
stuff.
Listen to this.
You know?
Listen to this. All right, this band right here, Dirty Loops. Okay, specifically this song. Dude, I want you to listen. I'm gonna start this over because this shit hits so hard right out of the gate. Listen to the drummer and the bass player specifically, but either way, they're a fucking three-piece. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dude, that shit hits so hard, bro. Fuck it. I'm pretty sure they
right
can
on.
hear
That's
it
some
now.
all right, I don't know. So anyway, I just got so deep into Gunship, and
It's so good, dude. All right, I pulled it off. I don't think they can hear it anymore, but dude, it's so fucking good, dude. You gotta check these guys out. I think
well,
like
I
them.
mean, and possibly the thing especially with like the bass playing and stuff that I've been doing, like I haven't been getting into a lot of new stuff because I've just been learning all these songs that are just kind of already a part of me and that I've taken for so many years. And back in the old days when I was a kid, I probably would have told you, like a band like Metallica was my favorite group and whatnot. And
yeah, they're still my favorite all time.
But
Coheed's giving them a run for their money, man.
I guess of all time,
And then Protest the Hero too. Have you been listening to those guys?
No, I don't even heard of it. But my favorite band of all time at this point is probably Queensryche.
You're such a boomer.
That's just probably my favorite group of all time.
Who?
Queensryche.
I mean, that's cool. That's fair.
It is.
They're
cool.
legit. They're legit, dude.
You
This is my shit, dude. This band, Coheed and Cambria, and fucking Misery Signals are like my top three.
I've been listening to Chris Rea lately, and I just learned a Chris Rea song. And if anybody knows Chris Rea, they know that's like the bomb tracks, right? That's where it's at.
I think they can hear this,
and
maybe they can. I don't know. I should probably just do that or something. I don't know if they can fucking hear this shit.
Well, anyways, so
this shit, this fucking Protest the Hero record, Palimpsest, this shit hit so fucking hard all the way through this record. Like, if you really want to push yourself as a musician, try learning some of this shit, because it really doesn't matter what instrument you're on. Vocals, guitar, bass, drums. This whole band is at the top of the game. Listen to this chorus right here. It kicks in right here. Boom. So they can do whatever the fuck they want. That's why this is so impressive, because they'll go from the complete tech to big and boomy and catchy to progressive. They'll do whatever. Dude, these guys,
right?
If it's a dick measuring contest, these guys are Shaquille O'Neal. You know what I mean? Like,
possibly. Well, good luck
Misery
to them.
Signals got a new album out. They
Right.
just dropped this one. Coheed's firing shit out every fucking year. It seems like they're dropping a new album. Coheed's dropping shit faster than I can keep up with it, man.
I have one Coheed album that I do like a lot.
Which one?
It's Apollo.
Has it got a 4 on it? The Roman numeral?
No, it's got like the
One and a
dude
V.
and his wife on the cover with like the moons and the.
Oh, you're talking. Fuck.
Gosh.
I know which one it is. I know which one you're talking about. Hold on.
And I do like it a lot. That's the only one I got, But yeah, all these groups, and they're putting stuff out, and well, good luck.
I have the most bizarre fucking.
Best of luck to them in the
music library.
apocalypse. I hope it goes well.
You're talking about.
I do not see it. Yep, there we go.
Yeah, this is a cool record. There's some
No
cool
World
shit
for
on here.
Tomorrow. There's a couple songs I really like on there, and Feathers and
Great. This is the best song on that album. Gravemakers and
Lung's
Gunslingers. This is the best song on that album, hands down.
I haven't listened to this album in a while.
And honestly,
but I did listen to it a lot when it first came out.
This is a cool album, but this ain't their best work.
I'll probably never find out.
This is their newest one. This one just hit a year or two ago, and this shit bangs. This is a cool album, but it's not their best either.
I mean, being into music, it probably makes me a hypocrite to say, but I just not into really. I'm good on what I got. I just, to some degree, Gunship hit me from like just left field. It just like clobbered me from left field, and that was the only group. And I guess for the most part, I'm set.
I've been getting more and more into
what I
pop
got,
music.
I've
been getting more and more into non-rock music.
I'm good with my 80s stuff. I'm good with my 80s and 90s rock and thrash metal, and and I've kind of gone back there. And I mean, and Seven Dust for me is one of those groups that kind of sticks out of that a little bit. I love Seven Dust, and and I've always, anytime I've ever seen a group like Seven Dust, I mean, Lejeune, I've never seen a singer that has that kind of charisma and a connection, a true connection with the crowd.
Right.
And I've always just have always just loved and appreciated that about him and that band. And we did spend a little bit of time playing with those dudes at one period of time, and they were very kind and loving dudes. And I'll always be gracious for that time that I got to spend, and that was an amazing part of my life. But life moves on, and we go to different.
What was it like? What was it like playing with those guys?
We only played a few shows with those guys. I thought it was amazing, especially for me, how much I was into them. And I guess I can kind of give you a short story about that, and it does incorporate like Bill and whatnot as well. And for anybody, Bill was our manager for Skywind for many years, and he was one of the only people besides our parents and whatnot that really believed in us. And I know that people had kind of a whatever relationship they had with him, but I guarantee whatever that was and whatever relationship you had or whatever, you didn't know that dude like I knew him. And he might have done something bad with your money or whatever it was, and I'm sorry for you and your money, whatever it was. But I did not have that relationship with him, and that dude made my life and our lives in Skywind. You got another? Or yeah, I'll take one of those. Whatever you got. He made our lives go. And we met him out in Seattle at Wally has some family out there, and we went out there to play the Salmon Days Festival in Issaquah, which is a suburb outside of Seattle. And at that time, Bill was the guy who was the promoter of that show, and he was running it. And somehow or another, we got involved in that. So
was that Battle of the Bands also rigged?
No, it wasn't a Battle of the Bands. It was just this is before we knew Bill. We never even met Bill at this point. We went out there because Wally has an uncle out there that lived in Issaquah, and had met Bill at some point and arranged for us to play a show out there.
Sure.
And so we were out there to play one show. We drove all the way, through North Dakota and Idaho and and Montana and Washington State to get there to play one show. And we got there, and we were able to have this Bill guy that we had not met yet set us up another show while we were out there. And it was at this really rinky-dink club called Zach's. And Zach's was pretty much almost right underneath the Space Needle. And apparently they hosted like a lot of punk acts and whatnot. And it was kind of, I'm pretty sure there was a band in there when we first went to go check it out when we got there, and they were playing the song they called Get Drunk and Fight. And that was pretty much like, and you can imagine just like this punk to get drunk and fight, whatever, right. And however it went. And we get there, and it was a very small club. And at this time, we were feeling good as a band, and we were so excited to get out of Minnesota and travel, and going to Seattle and the Great Northwest, which is or at least used to be, and probably still is, a very beautiful and amazing area in Seattle. And got out there, and we were going to play this additional show, and we got there, and they had this little rinky-dink drum kit in the corner, and they wanted me to play on that, right? and me being a southpaw, I've always kind of had this like backdoor excuse, basically saying, well, I can't play that because that's a right-handed drum kit. I need my own. And they were basically like, well, you're not going, you got to either play this or you're not playing tonight. And we're like, we were kind of upset about it. We're like, we came all this way, and we want to play the show anyway. So here comes this guy, walks in the door, and hey guys, and how Bill used to talk, and I'm Bill Berry, and either way, Bill ends up working it out with the club so we could use my drum kit, right?
The walking South Park.
But this was the type of club
hey
that
guys,
this club that we were going to play at was so small that they had like one of these corner stages, right? And if I would have actually set up my drum kit, it would have taken up the whole stage. So what we thought about doing was putting the drum kit on the floor, and at that time it was like blocking the fire exit which Bill also was able to talk them into letting me block the fire exit, right? And we were just going to play. But Bill had still never heard us at this point. He'd never seen us, never heard us, just knew that we were out to Blair to play the Salmon Days Festival the next day or whatever it was.
Right.
And then, you know, as Skyline at that time, and we'd already been playing together for a while, and we had our own thing and our music, and we were feeling pretty good. We more or less proceeded to like blow the doors off this place, you know, and we were playing well at that time and whatnot, and pretty much blew Bill away at the time. And then he was like, like, okay, you guys are like serious about what you do, you know, and and then we played the Salmon Days Festival the next day, and then, you know, we Bill had some connections with the studio out there that was doing the recording of Queensryche and some other bands out in Seattle, and that's Triad Studios. And he got us connected with some people, and then through time we were going to record an album out there, and that album was before O2, and that album's called Rain Songs Live, and it incorporated songs that were off of our very first debut album, Under Cloud 9. And then other songs that we had after that before we wrote O2, that was basically like transitional songs. And we were a different band at that time. We kind of had a twangy almost sound to us, and which Bill always told me he thought that was our best.
Your early shit.
Yeah, and just that the way those types of songs went. Before we kind of started getting heavier into O2 and whatnot, and having my heavier influence and stuff really started attached to the songs. But anyways, so like, you know, we traveled back and forth to Seattle,
like Dynamic,
a few times.
You guys were never heavy.
No, we weren't. We had heavy influences.
But you mean like the dynamic, the range, the power, the fucking
and probably some more heavier drumming and heavier just, you know, guitars and stuff. But anyways, so we traveled back and forth over the next few years, doing some recording out there, and then Bill would always come into town when we would have like bigger shows, like the Quest show that we were talking about where it got lit on fire. I don't think I ever finished that story, but those types of shows where we'd have the 1,000 people coming out. Bill was very good at going out and getting corporate sponsors, because when we used to make our flyers and stuff, we needed money to do that. So he would go out and talk to like JR's Powerhouse Gym, and they would throw us $300, and maybe talk to like some other companies, and they would give us this money to print all these flyers and do all this. So anyways, so that's how the whole, you know, the Quest thing went up. So Bill would always travel out, and that's where some of those stories come from Wally and I. Like, you know, Wally and I, you know, always had this really dynamic relationship, and you know, we'd have a lot of tensions build up that we weren't really talking about, because we'd go to practice every night and just get the music out and stuff, but we weren't really dealing with some of these issues and tensions, or whether it was somebody's girlfriend trying to get into the mix or whatever it was, and all these kind of issues. And a lot of it could be music, you know. We obviously want a lot of control over the music, and we felt something should go a certain way, so we really lobbied for it. And a lot of these tensions would really start to build up. And then when Bill would fly in, Wally and I, you know, I remember specifically in the winter one time, one of these Quest shows that we played, and you know, Bill flew in, and Wally and I would be the ones that go to the airport and go pick him up. And as soon as Bill would get in the freaking vehicle, Wally and I would just start unloading on each other, right? And just all these problems and all this crap that we were sick of each other and whatnot. And
poor Bill.
I do, yeah, right. So yeah, he immediately, as soon as he steps into the vehicle, like he's just bombarded with all this crap, right?
No wonder he left.
So anyways, I remember being very close to Bill. Would stay at my house at the time with us, and we were close to my house in Van Ness Heights at the time, and I think Wally told me told me F you a couple times, and I was pretty much like, dude, you tell me F you one more time, and you're gonna pull right the F over, right? And he was like, F you, and I was like, pull over, right? And right then and there, Wally and I immediately jump out of his vehicle, and we're out there rolling around in somebody's front yard in the snow. He broke my finger that night, and we had a show like the next day. He literally broke my finger. You can't see that, but you know, like,
oh wow,
if you could see that.
Hold on.
So that's like the but it doesn't matter. It's just a part. Hilarious. It's just a part of life, and I would never take any of it back. And you know, and Wally and I love each other, and it's just kind of and we rolled around, and we got our aggressions out, and Bill just kind of and dealt with it. And then we'd go play and we'd rock that show the next night. So, gosh, I don't remember where I started with that story, but, Bill was always such a important part of our lives. And he was the one. We eventually moved out to Seattle. And that's where we wrote a lot of O2. And we got kind of fed up with Seattle. Seattle was very dead at the time that we were there. And we decided that it was going to be a better move for us to continue on down the coast. And we were going to go to Los Angeles. And on the way there, we knew a dude that was involved with some Rush recordings or something at one point, and he lived in San Francisco, and we stopped at his place. His name was David Plank, and we recorded a couple songs at his house in San Francisco. We basically lived in the van, and we took beach showers until we moved to Los Angeles, and we knew a guy, our buddy Dusty Sorg, who was there to be an actor, and he was kind enough to let us sleep on his floor and his couch in his very small one-bedroom studio apartment in the middle of Hollywood. And he lived right off of Hollywood Boulevard and Highland, actually. And we would have we lived there for not too long. It was probably about 3 or 4 months, I guess. And every day, none of us had jobs. Every day we would go out to Venice Beach, and there's all kinds of performers out there performing daily, whether they're balancing a dryer on their chin and making money, or there's one-man bands. And those people that are out there, they've been there a long time, and those are their spots. So you can't just roll on up out there and set up some congas and and your acoustic guitars, which is what we did, and just start rocking, because people are gonna be like, yo, that's my spot for 20 years, like Vamoose, but we dealt with it. And eventually that was where we kind of learned to cut our teeth with talking to people that were not interested in us being there. Know what I'm saying? And that's where we cut our teeth with that. And we were always, trying to lobby to get in some situation out in LA, or trying to get shows, or trying to just meet people. So we could just meet friends out there, whoever it was, or get invited to parties or whatever it was, right? And
this is where I think a lot of people don't understand the work that goes into the music industry, the networking, the building, the relationships. Yeah, when we finally trying to get favors.
Yeah, when we finally decided to leave LA, because the thing is at that time in 2000, 2001, and 2002, Minneapolis was the spot. Right. And even people in LA knew this. This was when Head Charge was blowing up and whatnot. And so literally we came back. We said, let's get out of LA, go back home, and take these songs that we wrote for this album, and take these skills that we've been learning to talk to people that don't care that we're there, and let's see what we can do in the Twin Cities, back in our own hometown. And I'll tell you,
and that's when you guys
we were one of those bands, and for whatever reason it is, I think at one point we were the Twin Cities most hated band by a lot of
but that's just a lot of but
stuff.
that's just because of jealousy and haters and
whatever
all that
the reason was. We didn't have a lot of support from the Shannon Brettles and those types of people. We didn't have people trying to give us. We had to frickin' do everything ourselves, which to some degree is why a lot of people didn't like us, because we were like, well, if you're not going to help us, if you're going to be a hurdle to us, I'm just going to hurdle over you. Right. And we're going to learn how to do that, because this ain't about you. This is what we're trying to do. Right. So and that's where we, Wally explained to you, we would go out and get some of these sponsors. I was working as an electrician at that time. And the guy that I was working for, we started borrowing money from and we would dump $5,000 into promotion. We'd buy ads from Patrick at 93X. We'd do all those things, and those types of things started to work out. And that was a lot, we learned, we came home, and what you guys talked about on your podcast, Wally, we would flyer all the big shows, all the small shows. And there would sometimes be a few people out there, but we realized when it was sub-zero temperatures and stuff, we were the only dudes out there. Yep. And people would be this was always the same old story. And I've explained this to you at the bar and just talked about it many times before. People would take our flyer, they'd look at it, they'd be like, Skywind, whatever. Yeah. They'd throw it.
I've told that story. I've experienced that.
we were paying for ads on 93X and whatnot, and we were starting to get into a little rotation because a couple of these companies we're working for were starting to like buy like into rotation and whatnot, and it was just how it works, right? And then so this dude that tossed my flyer, he would be like a 93X listener, right? And then he would all of a sudden hear this ad or something from this Skywind band, right? But they were called Skywind, and then he finally learned the name, and then it became like a household name. So whether you loved us or hated us, during those years, we were just a household name in the local scene.
Right.
And we did that by just a constant just work. And Bill was a big part of that, and Bill had the gift of gab, just like you, my friend, and just like he was able to work us into situations that other people just weren't good at. And whatnot, and he was able to make this magic happen, and and Bill also came along with like the best phrases and metaphors, and it was always stuff like, guys, you can't be tripping over dollars to pick up dimes. It's true, and the thing that Bill taught me that I still try to live to this day, and that I teach my children and everything, and I think this is so important. Bill was just so wise, man. And this just isn't that wise of a thing. It just should be common knowledge, but it's so wise, is that, it's not about like what happens to you in life. It's how you deal with what happens to you that makes everything, right? Mm-hmm. So like if your children like spill like a glass of milk, you have a couple options. You could freak out on them.
Right.
And go bananas and then just hurt their feelings and make them cry and whatever you do. And then you're still going to have to go get the rag and wipe it up, right? Mm-hmm. Or you could just let them kind of deal with what happened, not freak out on them, go get the rag and clean it up and be like, hey, next time just be a little bit more careful. They have to figure it out too, right? So I think that important lesson that Bill taught me was, seriously, it's not about what happens to you, it's how you deal with it. And that's such an important thing for me, because I am a person that deals with anger. Right. And stuff, and it does stem from my childhood, and I do have like daddy issues. I'm one of those kids that has daddy issues, and I do have anger with it, and that's always been why music has been a part of my life. I was just watching an interview with like Kirk Hammett and how he was talking about he has anger. I've never imagined Kirk as an angry person,
I know, right?
But he claims that he is, and that he puts it into his guitar playing and whatnot. And I see how that works out, and that's why I've also said I'm just so bummed out about the state of the world that we're in, and just how we're all dealing with it. Because like, man, me with my attachment to music, at least at this point, at this current period of time, on this day and this hour, has kind of left me a little high and dry at the moment. And I don't think maybe it won't be permanent. I don't know. Maybe I'll be playing like underground bars. I told Angel, like, it might be the only job I ever get ever again if I'm never going to mask up. Like I might only be able to play bass at some underground show, but I don't even know. Like,
I ain't wearing no fucking mask on stage.
I ain't wearing no mask. Not in nowhere I go.
I'm just saying,
they're
dude.
Gonna have to mace me and tackle me to get it done.
Like,
I guess.
I ain't
mace away.
I ain't wearing a mask on stage. It's not happening. Like, and I'm not playing in front of large groups of people until I know that I'm not basically gonna accidentally put my.
I hope I get a couple more shows in, before they drag me off to Walmart, and I've already stated that. And I hope I get a few more in, but like back to the old days and with Bill and whatnot, it makes me sad, man. I've literally thought about him a lot. Even recently, it was his birthday, actually, a week or 2 weeks ago, and I actually still have his number on my phone, which is probably obviously not his number, and I still wrote a text message on it, just said, hey, if you're out there, man, happy birthday. Because
there's no
for
way
anybody that don't know,
know,
Bill basically, he came into this scene after we brought him back. He started living here in the Twin Cities with us, and became full time with us, and then started addressing the rest of the scene, and he became like a big promoter at the Rock and whatnot, right? And bringing bands in, and he did start playing with people's money to bring some of these bands in. And that's kind of why I kind of said before, like, hey, sorry about you and your money, but you do realize the game that you were playing was high risk venture. And for you to actually expect that your money was going to come back to you because you booked Power Man 5000 on a Tuesday night, and you you don't know what game you were playing.
Right.
And now you're pissed at this dude because he took the money that you wanted to put up for it, not his own money, you wanted to play, and then you lost, right? And then they blame him, right?
Yeah,
so
it's a tough
sorry,
one, though, man.
sorry about your bad luck. Sorry if you have a bad relationship with that dude. I don't have that same relationship. I had a very heartfelt relationship where that dude actually sat across from me in the driver's seat, drove my ass all the way around this country a few different times, put up with all of our bull crap day in and day out, whether it was band issues or just personal issues, whether somebody was breaking up with their girlfriend or dealing with a sick, parent or whatever it was, and so I miss that dude dearly. And if he is out there somewhere in the world, man, and you ever are able to listen to this, man, know that I love you, man. And I just hope to hear from you someday again before we all pass. And that, one thing I think Bill was trying to escape, he never wanted to live life working for like the man.
Right.
And that's why when he found us and we found each other, he was just attached because he was like, oh, this is it. Right. And at that time, I could kind of see why he thought that, because we were making these great strides as an independent band, and we cared, and our parents believed in us. And at that point, we're like, if we really needed, like, would try to throw some money into it and whatnot. And trust me, we don't have rich parents. I didn't grow up, we don't have rich parents, right? They just believed in us, and we believed in, and we maxed out all of our credit cards and everything as well.
I racked up so much fucking debt.
Right?
I racked up so much fucking debt trying to do it all.
But Bill, he was there for us. And then Skywind, upon my hiatus from the band, which occurred, for a few years, and it was necessary to happen. I was turning into a monster. When you get to that point, and it was not a big time point, and that's my whole point about it. We weren't even big time,
right?
And everybody wanted to share their drugs. Everybody wanted to buy you drinks.
Because even when you're up and coming,
chicks want to be your best friend.
Yeah, the ride starts early.
And we weren't even anything, right? And so what would it have turned into if we would have went farther? It would have been just a nightmare, a disaster, right? So the things occurred in my life that needed to occur at that time, and yes, basically they made the right decision. I was turning into a monster. They said, they were like, "C'est la vie," and they brought in Derek. Which
you're talking about when you got kicked out of Skywind.
So yeah, and then they brought in Derek, which Derek and I went to high school together. We all grew up together. Right?
He was your tech, wasn't he?
Yeah, Derek served as my tech, not to mean that he's a lower drummer. As anybody knows, Derek would pretty much Mickey Mouse my ass up and down on a drum kit. But you know what I'm saying? Because that's how
he's a pretty good drummer.
But Derek also knows just as well that I'm an emotional and a passionate drummer, and that, that's my niche. My niche is playing the right part and playing the heartfelt part, the part that belongs. And maybe from my old days of taking a lot of acid and whatnot, when in my younger days, I kind of always had this theory, these songs already kind of exist, in some dimension or something, right? And they're just already there. And then you come into a point of time where time and the moons and stars align or whatever, and then you kind of end up kind of pulling them out of this dimension and into your dimension because they belong to you anyways. And I know that that almost doesn't have make any sense what I was talking about before, but my only point about that is for Skywind and whatnot, and those dudes that I was playing with, I was the right person, and Derek was the needed person at that time, because they needed to continue on because they were. And we were kind of rolling. They couldn't just put on the brakes right there because we were having internal issues and whatnot. And
we see that happen a lot too. Bands
and they
take
kept
a month
going,
off and they're done.
And so if those things happen, and I love Derek, we were and we still are. I'm not going to say good friends because I haven't talked to him in a period of time. I did when I heard that he was out with ministry and whatnot. I sent him a message and I said, "Hey, dude, I said God bless and do well out there, and that we're all proud of you." I sent him these, and he sent me a message back saying, "Hey, thanks, brother," whatever. And and the thing is especially during that time when he was out with Ministry, I think quite honestly, like 5 years ago or so, if I would have heard that news, I would have been jealous. I would have. And I would have been like, wow, man, I wish I was doing something like that or whatever.
Keep that a little closer to you.
But
keep drifting.
at this point, I was already so deep into like my researches and stuff that was occupying my mind and my heart anyways. I knew that I almost didn't even want a part of that. I actually don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to tour with Slayer. I don't think that they put out a good message to the world. I grew up listening to Slayer. Seasons of the Abyss was like my favorite Slayer album. But the bottom line is, I mean, I had like an argument with my wife for like a very long time about this. She had like, this sweatshirt, and all it was like upside down crosses, pentagrams, and Baphomet symbols, right? And then I basically got argued to my face that it's not satanic, and it's like, but it is.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And I just don't want a part of that. And it actually kind of concerned me a little bit that the dude that I grew up with and that I always knew, and Derek was always such a good jokester and a prankster and whatnot. He's a very funny dude. He always keeps the party laughing and rolling and whatnot. That I was a little bit worried that he was out there influenced a little bit, one, by Al Jorgensen and his, isn't he like, like Mr. Antifa guy, and and I was a little bit concerned, for Derek's, him being out around those crowds, and people are probably just like listening to this going, you're a freaking retard, dude. Like,
here, I'm gonna move this.
You move out, you're gonna want to play with Slayer. Well, maybe you do, but
there you go.
My life is just in a different spot. So yeah, so I wish Derek the best at the time, and I told him, hey, dude, Godspeed, safe travels, come home safe, right? And that's what he did, and I'm not quite sure what he's doing out there these days, but the reality is
he's still doing shit. He just did some shit with Ian Severson.
Right, yeah, you guys talked about
Jake,
that, right?
Yeah.
And I guess when I think about, if I'm going to play bass in a group or whatnot, the reality is that's going to be very hard for me to do as well. And I'm not necessarily talking about what the group that you're trying to get here, work out here, but if I did something else, right, I'm a little bit worried about the caliber of drummer of who's going to be there,
Right.
And one of the only people that I do know that can work at that caliber is Derek.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So like, man, maybe one of these days, you never know. Hopefully our paths will cross in that dimension. Derek and I actually did play in a band together that wasn't like a real band, but a made up band back in the old Skyline days. We were called Group Home ADD.
Really?
And Derek was the singer. I played bass, but I didn't actually know how to play bass at that time. It was just a mess. And our keyboard player, Mike Lanier, jumped behind the drums. And then we would write impromptu songs on the spot. They were like 20-minute songs, and they just had like ridiculous.
I hear you though, dude, because like I was never a very good singer, but I was a pretty damn good front man, and so it's been very difficult for me to be willing to be in somebody else's band when I know that the singer isn't up to par. You know what I mean? It's a tough pill to swallow.
I'm just saying you're at least going to have to be of the same caliber or better, or you're going to have to at least be a hard worker to come to that. And I don't even know about that altogether, right? I'm talking about this as if like, at 43 years old, I'm going to put together a new band and we're going to go out there and rock in the apocalypse when I'm not even allowed to go anywhere in the first place or play any shows anyways. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know why I spend 2.5 hours a day playing the bass. I mean, I go through these like emotional periods with it. I mean, there's periods I'll be down there straight up. I'll be playing, and music has always been very emotional for me. It doesn't actually take a whole lot of a song that I'm in love with or whatnot, or a certain chord change or something to absolutely just break me down. I'll start bawling, right? I can admit that. That means that I'm connected to the music. If you listen to music out there and you feel like you're connected to it and you're not bawling, I'm not really sure you're connected to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it should have that emotional impact on you. And there's many times where I'm down there and I'm actually on autopilot these days. Some of these songs I just know so well that I can think about doing the laundry. I could think about the occult. I could think about the apocalypse. I could think about what I'm making for dinner that night while I'm on autopilot, right?
Right.
And it does sometimes get me down in some of these patterns of thought going, this might be for nothing. I'm actually not too bad at this. I'm getting kind of bad, you know, but what's it for? And, you know, and my wife gets to hear about it all the time. And, you know, I go through these ups and downs. It's like, what am I even doing it for?
Right.
You know, like if they're not even going to let me off my street someday, like,
I mean,
yeah, but that day is not here. So I got to play each day as we're here. So until that day comes, that's why I'm trying to tell you, my band members and stuff, give me a call. But let's book a show. And until they tell us we can't do it no more.
Let me pause you. So here's the thing is like, if anybody else is resonating like that, like here's the deal is like, you should be playing the music and writing music and playing your instrument because you enjoy it. However, there's a separation between that and pursuing it as a career or a professional. Like
I'm not pursuing that anymore.
I mean, I am. I still am. I absolutely want. I'm waiting. I'm biding my time because here's the thing: is I finally have enough wisdom, and maybe you're such a fucking old ass boomer, you can't do it anymore. I respect that, but
it's not that I can't do it. I just don't know if I want to do it enough like this.
Well, dude, get this paranoia shit out of your fucking head. Like, dude, assume it's going to work out and concentrate on what you can control until it works out. Because you can't change any of this shit you keep freaking out about. That's
what I'm saying right now, so that we can do it now.
Just slap it to base, you know? Slap it to base, get as good as you can at that, and this too shall pass. So once and the dust fucking settles, we'll go back out there and we'll play some fucking shows. Just be prepared. Don't be the little bitch who goes, everything's happening around the world, and then all of a sudden everything goes back to normal and you're caught with your fucking pants down because you thought it was going to be the boogaloo. Like a lot of these
the boogaloo is coming, but we're not there yet.
But a lot of these motherfuckers
I'm not afraid of getting some
shit.
Virus, so just call me up. Let's rock. I'm not going to get it. I will never get the virus because there ain't nothing for me to get. You might.
I mean, the virus is real, dude. Well, let's fucking.
Well, good. Then real. Somebody give it to me then already.
You probably already got it, to be honest.
Fine, I got it.
Like 85% of us are gonna catch it, whether you're wearing your masks or not.
Well,
but that's neither here nor there. Listen, dude, we've been doing fucking. We're running on almost 3.5 hours now. Let's start wrapping this up. You got any other crazy last stories? Finish telling the fucking how you burned down the quest. Finish telling that story.
Well, okay. Well, we did not burn down the quest.
Rich personally burned down the quest.
So we're going to return to this story.
Finish this story
about 45 minutes.
And then we'll wrap it up.
Let's see. So I think I left off. We had a lot of people there. You know, Bill had already flown into town at this point.
And you'd slowly been building these pyros up over time.
Oh, yeah. We were building them up, and we'd always use these sparks and gerbs and flames and whatnot. And that night, we had 16-foot flames mixed with the maroons, which are the noisemaker, basically. And like I was saying, there is not a feeling in the world, especially like when you're sitting there behind the drum kit and you're looking out and like these flame tanks and stuff are on like the sides of your drum riser and stuff. And just, I can only imagine like what Motley Crue or Metallica or Rammstein, right? Like Rammstein feels like every night. I mean, you know, Rammstein's another group I got into over the past years that just blew me away. I seen them live and they just blew me. But yeah, so anyways, all that stuff as an influence. And so yeah, first song, Circles in the Ground. Towards the very end of the song, the pyros get triggered and the 16-foot flames rise. And in my opinion, the vibration of the note that we played at that moment in time too, like shook a little bit of dust from the ceiling. And at the same time, the flames rose while the dust fell. And then that's just my opinion. I don't even really know. I'm just guessing, right? Right? And then eventually it went up to the ceiling and like there must have been like a ton of cobwebs or who even knows, but something that just quickly burned and just went away. Right? But nonetheless, it kind of did seem like something was going on. There's a lot of people in the club and literally my buddy Matt, who made like the pyro stands and the controller box and whatnot, literally ran upstairs with a fire extinguisher, started going to town. By that time, people had already started clearing out of the club, understandably so, right? They started clearing out of the club, and I remember going into the back alley, and at the Quest, the back alley was just right behind like the backstage,
you
know, aisle back there or whatever, a hallway. And there was hundreds of people in the alley, I mean, wondering if we were going to go back on, and we weren't going to. And so that was kind of about it. So the thing never caught on fire. There was another band around the time called Jet City or something that started the Fine Line on fire. Yep. And then the incident out in Rhode Island all kind of happened very close to each other. And then that was the end of pyros for us forever. Yep. And that was it, right?
And now you get fake light pyros. But there's a follow-up story to that I think is really interesting. And Bill told me this story. So when you guys... because they shut that place down because the sprinklers did come on and like it did get a lot of water damage and shit. Like it did become a real big problem. So when you guys came back out, Bill told me this crazy story about how you guys filled the room with fucking stage fog and you started playing sirens and flashing lights. Well, yeah, it was the fire.
We had to have a comeback show, a free show that we had to put on in honor of the people's tickets that they spent.
And then Wally came out dressed in full suit. Fucking fireman gear and fucking got the crowd all riled up, and you guys had the smoke and everything, and then you just boom,
a lot of this
just crushed it.
Kind of goes into, and around this time was when American Head Charge and whatnot were gaining success, and I had a friend, a girlfriend of mine. We weren't dating, but she was a friend of mine. And she was friends with the president of American Records, and that was Dino. And Dino was like kind of like American Head Charge's rep and whatnot as well. And he was coming into town to see a Head Charge show. But while he was there, she talked him into coming down to our rehearsal studio at Profile Music one night and checking out a couple songs from this Skywine band, right? Mm-hmm. And that kind of breaks into another story about basically how we ended up out in LA again. He literally sat there, listened to a couple songs. We were writing a song called Inside Out, which is a beautiful song, but literally told us at the time that he just didn't understand the song at all or why we were writing it or playing it, right? But nonetheless, he sitting right there,
classic.
He picks up his phone. This is right when cell phones are kind of starting to come out as well. And he was like a big LA roller, so he had one for sure, right? I think we probably even had pagers at the time. Right. And he picks up his phone right there, and he calls Rick Rubin right there on the spot and said, "Hey, Rick, there's a band I think you need to see." And it was just pretty much like, you kind of hear, okay, click, whatever. And he's like, "So, what are you guys doing in 2 weeks?" I don't know. Well, Rick wants you to come out to LA. Okay, right. So and that's kind of how.
What is that like? That's got to be pretty mind blowing because he's a legend back then already. He's a legend now.
Yeah,
he was already a legend.
Oh yeah, he was already with Slayer, Beastie Boys, Tom Petty. Yep. So that was kind of for us. We did freak out, but we also kind of felt at that time that was just like you and Jason were talking about. Like you almost felt like, well, you're going to do this, you're going to do these things, and then eventually somebody's going to come along and, hopefully want to sign you. And we had felt at that time that we had worked hard enough. We had some people behind us, including my boss from when I was working for Marathon Electric. He was backing us financially, like big time financially at that point. We had a little bit of means and some money and whatnot, and we were doing well and continuing to write music. And so they invited us out to LA. And one of my big questions for Bill at that time was like, why does this dude want to spend all this money and resources on flying us out to LA when he could just fly out himself and come down to the studio or not? And Bill literally looked at me. He's like, because it's February and he don't want to fly out in February. That's all there was to it, is because it's cold here.
Well, also and time is money and it's not just the cost of the ticket. Like he's got other shit going on. If he gets you out there, he can pop by for an hour or two, check you guys out, and move on with his day.
And I'll get to even more about that. But in my simple thinking at that time, I was like, why does he want to go through all this? Why doesn't he just come out? Well, because it's February. Okay.
I love how Bill's become a South Park character.
Well, that's just kind of how we talk.
Well, it's February.
He had kind of a weird voice, and but I try to mimic it. I'm not doing him justice. I'm making him sound like a jerk. But like
you're making him sound like a South Park character, which is hilarious.
But Bill's awesome. I loved him. But and so basically, that, ended up being where, fine, we're going to go to LA and we're going to showcase for Rick Rubin. Now, the way they do it out in LA is a lot different than they do it here, at least at that time. And maybe people do it like this more now, but we never even heard of this before for the most part. He's like, well, the thing is they have these studios out there that, like, bands out there for the most part don't function like bands out here where you like go above Ryan's bar and you get like a studio where you guys jam. No, like when you want to jam, you rent out a space for a few amount of hours, like on a Wednesday night. You either go in there with your gear or they have tons of backline gear already there for you if you don't want to bring any of your own or don't have it. Right. And then you go there and jam. Now, basically, so they set us up at one of these like rehearsal studios and basically were like, you guys don't need to bring anything. Just come out, just fly out. And at that time, just like the situation at Zach's in Seattle, I was like, oh, hell no. We need our gear. If we're going to do this our way, we need our gear. And we kind of stood on that. Now, in hindsight, that was kind of like maybe a little childish or whatnot. But like at that point in time, we actually had some crew members and whatnot that were actually willing to drive our gear from Minnesota to Los Angeles while we flew. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Bill and a couple of other guys, I think it was Joe and another dude's name I'm kind of putting aside right now, but Joe Truck and Bill drove our stuff. Joe Dahlstrom drove our stuff across the United States out to LA while we went out a couple of days later and flew out. They literally picked us up in a stretch limo. They brought us to the Grafton Hotel on Sunset Strip, which is a very nice hotel. Very expensive. You know, right. We stayed there for a few days at a very expensive rate. And then a few of other friends come out, and I guess to make the story maybe a little longer, and it is relatively, as much as I can remember some of the truth, this is kind of an inside story, but it is how it happened. A friend of mine, one of my best friends, actually came out there as well, and was out there just for some whatever, to be out there and for some support and whatever it was. But he brought a bunch of mushrooms with him. And right. So the night before we were supposed to go do the showcase, we ate a bunch of mushrooms, and not all of us. So myself, Eric, Brian, Mike, we ate a lot of mushrooms. Now, another situation that was happening at the same time was when a person like Rick Rubin has interest in your band, so do other people all of a sudden.
Right.
And what was occurring at the same time is that Atlantic Records was trying to jump on and come into the showcase that Rick Rubin had already paid for, put up his time and money, and a few of us came to the conclusion while we were tripping on mushrooms that we didn't think it was really cool for that to happen. And if Atlantic Records seriously had some more interest, either we'll do the showcase like the next day or in another situation, but we didn't think that it was like really fair or honorable to just let them in on it and maybe not tell Rick. And then all of a sudden they show up in the room. It's like, oh yeah, and by the way, we said it was cool they come along as well, and just maybe that wouldn't have gone over well. Mm-hmm. We didn't jive with it. And what ended up happening, and I'm not saying it was because of the mushrooms or not whatnot, but we had this revelation about that situation and many other cosmic situations that were all into play at this very crucial time for us. And to add on to the story, Wally and I got into a disagreement that morning in the hotel room about how that should go down. We probably got into one of the biggest blowouts that we had up to that point. Wow. And we had to go to the showcase with like this fight under our belt. I have heard, I don't know if it's true or not, I don't totally believe in this, but it could be true that, you know, because of that fight, that basically Rick Rubin was like, well, I can't deal with this band because they had a fight. Now, my only thing against that to some degree, so basically I think I've been kind of thrown under the bus a little bit as the excuse as to why we never got signed with American Records. Now, my only thing about that is I kind of feel like a lot of bands have fights, and if you really have the stuff, you know what I'm saying, then these little fights or whatnot, they could have gotten over and with whatnot. I do believe, as Wally, as the singer of Skywind and whatnot, that he carried a lot of weight that was put on him as a singer and whatnot. And
Obviously.
maybe they just, it was just like what they said. You're not the band for us at this time. You know what I'm saying? And that was kind of how they put it to us. They didn't say we sucked. They didn't say, just said, hey, we're just going to move on from this situation.
And then you never followed up with Atlantic?
We did. But one thing that occurred to me is that they brought us to this, Atlantic Records brought us to this Mexican restaurant. It's kind of beside me right now, the name of it, but it's a very famous Mexican restaurant in Los Angeles. And they kind of tried to like swoon us a little bit. This was before the showcase. And what occurred to me is like, I was out there another time as well. And I swear, like I seen like some record executive bringing like another band to this restaurant. And what occurred to me, like we really thought that we were special. We got picked up in the limo, got wined and dined, got all, I think I went out there with like $20 in my pocket and came home with 25. I mean, like I didn't spend any money. Like, and it occurred to me that we just weren't really as special as we thought, because this is a business that happens every single day.
Yep.
And like they have 4 or 5 bands a day they see every single day. And they tell bands every single day, hey guys, you got a great sound. We don't think we can make this happen. Why don't you guys send us some more music in the future and keep us updated? And that's kind of it.
Dude, I've been trying to tell people this for a long time, man, is what they're looking for is they're looking for holes in your bucket. They're looking to invest in you and make money off of you. If they don't feel like you're a good business investment, they're out. It really doesn't matter how good you are. It really doesn't matter how good your music is. If they can't figure out a way to make money off of you, it's still a fucking business, right? So I think you nailed it, dude. And like, there is some truth, though, because I know of 2 bands personally. Actually, you know them as well. And I don't want to fuck up because I might be thinking of the wrong band, one of the 2. But so I don't want to name their names or the record labels. But 2 bands I know specifically sent out pressers and didn't hear anything for over a year and then got approached. So for people that don't know what I'm talking about, a presser, it's we used to call it a press kit, which is like it's like a CD, like they called it a one sheet, which is sort of like your band's resume, I guess you could say. Like, here's what we've done, here's who we played with, blah 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 blah, the stats, how many people you usually play in front of. Some places want to know how much money you make off of shows, blah 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 blah. Now that shit can all be verified and done online with there's a couple different websites that bookers use to keep all, so you can't even fake it anymore. But they're looking at you when you send out that presser to see if you can run your own business now. So I know of people, 2 different bands personally, sent it out, and then they literally got it, listened to it, looked them up, and started following them and watched them. Like, okay, they're booking a tour. Interesting. Let's see if they can survive the tour. Oh, they've survived that one. Oh, they're going out again. Oh, they're going. You know what? Hey, you guys, this band that sent us that demo last year, they've been on 6 2-week tours, all completely self-done. They haven't switched any members. And actually, this one guy quit right before they sent us that presser. They've replaced him. They didn't miss a beat. I think these guys actually have their shit together. And at that point, you don't even have to be making popular music. The 2 bands I'm referring to are death metal bands. And literally, they'll just flat out admit, like, yeah, dude, we know we don't make popular music. They're not investing in us. They didn't have our back because they thought we're going to change the world like the next Metallica. No, they seen a business and they seen that we had our shit together and we had the work ethic and the discipline. And whether we have fights or drama, we keep that shit in-house. So basically, moral of the story is, don't fucking do mushrooms the night before major business decisions.
Yeah, maybe not, but also, as we know, like some of those things do allow you to have a little more insight on some things going on. And
yeah, or you just fucking got high on drugs and fucked up a major opportunity.
Well, maybe I did.
Maybe.
Well, then it's all my fault. Blame it on me. So the thing is after that, you asked about, was there any pursuit of Atlantic? Well, yeah, I mean, so relatively soon after we got home back to Minnesota, Atlantic Records brought us out to New York City a few weeks or whatnot after that. And we had a showcase for them. which I did not eat any mushrooms at the night before. And there was no fights that occurred. And we pretty much did the showcase and got the exact same message. Hey guys, great music. Great sound,
no,
but
and there is
you're
some of that,
you're just not the band for us right now.
Because you guys were so
continue
unique.
to send us music, and then literally
you were so unique and so different, so weird. Not like weird as in experimental, weird as in like between your drumming, which was very behind the beat, as Wally says. Like I say, you play with a lot of groover, a lot of swing, whatever. Wally's vocal styling and his lyrics, like you guys were sort of like take the sound of the band and get rid of that. You guys were like an REM or a Dave Matthews Band. Like you were so antithetical to everything that was going on. Like all you needed was any of those people to throw some shit on mainstream radio and it would have blown up. And then everyone would have been clamoring, how did we miss this band? But none of them have the balls to take a shot on that because they can't place you. Because you guys were essentially not inventing a genre, so to speak, but you were definitely bending the definitions of what a genre could be. Because you were like, I would say rock or light rock. You definitely weren't emo. You definitely weren't grunge. You definitely weren't nu metal. You weren't any of those things that were out and definable.
Yeah, it pisses people off that they couldn't put their finger on it.
And it also scares people into whether they can make money off of it
Absolutely.
or not, right? So like that's where it goes back to, and I didn't learn this from you. I learned this from some old school dudes that my stepdad was friends with, some old school rockers. And they said, you're going to run into that in the business. They're mentoring me at 12 years old and shit. And they said, so is what you got to do is realize you're going to get a lot of no's. Because if you're truly doing something original, no one's going to take a chance on you. You have to build that yourself. And then that got reinforced when I met you and Bill Berry and those guys, because that's the truth. Like it happened to me. No one was interested in any of my bands. Still to this day, no one is ever interested in my bands until we get out there and we start doing it. And people are like, wow, those guys are really good. And then all of a sudden everybody wants to book shows with us. Now, you could either get jaded and be like, oh, fuck them, they didn't want to show up at the beginning. I've kind of acted like a little that with the podcast, There's certain people that are like, oh, I want to wait a few months. I'm like, fuck you, man. Like, I'm asking you to come help me out early, and they won't. But I get it, because I also kind of did that with the band thing. And it's like, you got to understand that's also a business. And so they weren't willing, like Joe flat out told us. That's why I respected Spanbauer, because Spanbauer flat out told me, he goes, I can't let you into my battle of the bands because you don't have a name. Like, you can't... All these other bands, I know how much they can draw because I've seen them play before. But I'll put you as one of my reserves. If somebody cancels, you can show up and at least get to play in front of some good people. And then we won the first 2 rounds and made it to the finals. Then all of a sudden, Bill Berry showed up. Now Bill Berry wanted to work with us. Hey, you should come over and fucking...
Well, it makes sense, right? It makes sense.
Exactly. At first, I was like, nah, man. Like, you didn't want anything to do with us at first. And then fucking Bill blew me off, right? Because he's like, oh, I invited you over to... And it was this stupid cycle of egos. It took like 2 or 3 years before Bill and I finally realized we were the same guy. We were both trying to do what was best for our business. And once we identified that, we like started to respect each other and started to work together. But it was an uphill battle in the industry and really in any industry. All these things we're talking about are you can take these analogies and apply them to anything. It's the whole thing, man.
After all that, we came home, and then the rest is kind of history. And then here we are today. And I do think that we are planning, at least for Skyline's concerned, we do have another album's worth of music already ready to go. So whenever we get into recording that, we're going to be doing that and still continue to put out music, whether we're going to be playing for anybody live at any time soon. I really hope to do that. It's part of my passion and part of my love, and I've always done it for the passion and the love. I've never done it for money. I've actually spent, if you could, see how many sticks and cymbals and skins I've gone through the year. All I've done my whole life is pay to play. That's the game. I'm absolutely fine with that. And I just hope that we can get back to it. But in the meantime, I wish all of my friends out there the absolute best, and be safe out there in the world. And seriously, give me a call if you want to rock, or give me a call if you need help loading something out of your car or whatever it is. Just hit me up, and I really hope to see everybody really soon. And I've been absolutely honored to be here with you, brother. Like I said,
Thank you, man.
I love you, man. I have not seen you for quite a few months as well, and that makes me sad. But I'm happy to be here with you this evening.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I hope we can come in some other time again, and maybe we can get Wally, like I said before, Wally and I in here at the same time, and maybe when we get both of us in here, we can really start like.
And I'll mediate. I'll mediate because I can kick both your asses. So if anything gets crazy, I'll kick both your asses.
I don't mean that, but I mean like rehashing some of these stories. You know, sometimes Wally, Wally is.
I'm just saying, if any fights break out,
no way. That would not.
Wally, I'll put both of you.
Wally
in headlocks.
is such a comedian. That dude, Wally has that ability. Because I tend to be a serious,
dude, let's do it. Let's get you and Wally in here.
But Wally has that ability. He's one of those dudes that can make me laugh. Like you can make me laugh. And I mean, and I need Wally. And Wally and I have gotten over a lot of those things because those things that we had on the line before, we're not focusing on those things.
Mm-hmm.
We're focusing on how we got here and our love for doing it. So Wally and I have not argued or fought for many years now.
Because, all right, well, dude, let's set it up. I'll talk to Wally. I'm texting him and talking to him for 100 reasons. Because
he's a very talented individual.
Well, and him and Josie got some shit going on. So Josie wants to get in here.
She's talented.
She wants to talk about some shit. So let's wrap it up on that note. You're not on social, so people can't follow you.
I'm not.
If you guys don't know, you can follow me at Jared Singer Live. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that shit. Like, subscribe, hit the bell.
You gotta smash the like button, right?
Yeah, you gotta. I fucking hate saying it. Whatever.
No, but this dude's awesome, right? So I mean, like, everybody give him your support. I mean,
thank you. Thank you.
I'm serious, man. This is your niche, bro, and I wish you the best, man.
Thanks, man. Let's wrap it up on that note, dude. We'll do it again. We'll get Wally down here.
Peace, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Love y'all. Beautiful.